Hello and welcome to the Tuesday, February 7th, 2023 meeting of the Northfield Selectboard. We're calling this meeting to order at 6:01. We have a lot on the agenda tonight, so let's get right to it. Sewer Department / Commission update at 6 p.m. Karen Boudreau, thank you so much. I know we scheduled this a while ago because you're so organized.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
Karen Boudreau, Sewer Commission. Hi, Mary. You're going to be my lovely assistant tonight.
Whoops.
We got a lot going on.
Okay, I would be happy to.
Okay.
And then we have, we did put in, I'm just reminding everybody as a group, we put in for 6:15 Highway Superintendent Tom Walker for a post-storm update, and then 6:30 is a 350th anniversary update. So,
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. So, I like to do these updates every once in a while because a lot has been going on. And I want to start, all right, because there's a lot of metrics and acronyms and math and everything else.
Yep.
And there's been a lot of questions. So I want to start with a little Bill Nye the Science Guy. And Mary's going to be my lovely assistant. No, you sit right there, Mary.
Okay.
Sit right there. Okay? We're going to talk about the definition of capacity.
Great.
Without graphs, without charts, without formulas. We're going to talk about capacity. This is my little water bottle. That water bottle is a little over half full. It has a capacity of about 12 ounces. Mm-hmm. This is where the treatment plant normally runs, somewhere around 60%. Sometimes it's low during a drought, sometimes it's a lot more. This is our treatment plant. So Mary?
Yes, ma'am.
If I opened up this bottle and I said to you, pick up this bottle and go down a couple flights of stairs and go out to the Stanley Wiki Pavilion, do you think you could do that and not spill any?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
We have not rehearsed this. All right? No water bottles.
I've never seen her before in my life.
That's a rainstorm.
That's a rainstorm.
That's a large event. That's Isaac getting sick. That's a fast melt. What if I took this and started pouring it in here? What would happen, Mary?
Well, you'd have to stop at some point.
Because of
Overflow.
capacity and overflow. Right.
Yes.
All right. So now we're going to tie this back. Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome,
I'll
Karen.
treat you to a creamy sometime. All right. We're going to tie this into what we've been doing and what's coming up. Okay.
Great.
I've got a few handouts here. If you could take one and pass it around, there's one there for you. All right. So.
Thank you.
Okay. In May of 2021, the town of Northfield got a consent order. And a consent order is basically a legally binding agreement, usually between...
Bernie, I'm sorry, could you give one to her because she's taking minutes?
Okay, usually between agency. And when you have something that, like a sewer plant, where you really can't go to court and litigate for months on end or get on a docket or things like this, they use a consent order that says, this is what you need to do. And if you don't do it, here's where we're going to start with fines and so forth. We're not accusing you, but we're also not letting you off the hook. All right? And that happened in May of 2021. Okay, so some of the fines, it starts at $6,610. And it's my understanding through Isaac and through the financial assistant that that's where it starts, but it hasn't been paid. It feels more like a warning shot. Alex, you were on the commission then, do you recall?
I most certainly do recall that experience.
And it was not paid at this point in time. All right? And that's what a consent order, especially with the DEP does, is they always start with money. In other words, here's your terms and conditions. We've had some problems, all right? And this is what's going to happen if you continue to misbehave. That's the gist of a consent order. It is a legally binding document. It can go to court. Our consent order, we were lucky, came from the Massachusetts DEP. It did not come federally from the EPA. Mm-hmm. They were, in essence, mad but kind. All right? So I just wanted to go over that because, you know, it's something that we're under. So when the sewer commission says, we need, like hiring this gentleman B, thank you for fitting him in. Under the consent order, there's 6 or 7 items that we have to improve on, and one of them is staffing. Every treatment plant has regulations that are mandated by highly experienced engineers over the last 100 years or so when treatment plants first started happening. And they go through and they look at the size of the plant and they look at the permit and they look at all different things. How big is your collection system? All right. Do you have a combined collection system, stormwater and sewage, or do you have a singular sewage only plant and collection system? We are sewage only. All right. So when you see these stormwater drains, they're going down into the river. They're not supposedly, hopefully, coming to the plant. All right. A lot of these plants are 100 years old. They're really, really old. We are 51, 52 now. So our staffing and hiring, okay, let's start with that. Everything we do now, we look at in terms of every task. Does this task in any way help facilitate getting away from the consent order? So our staffing and hiring has been better. Isaac has been the only gentleman there for almost 3 years. He has done some pretty miraculous things in the 2.5-ish years he's been there. We had a situation in January. Isaac got sick, really sick. And we had to put out the call to get people in here with a license, minimum 4 hours a day. That plant, I keep looking at Alex because he was a commissioner, minimum 4 hours a day, that plant has to be staffed and tests have to be run. Or we come back to the consent order and the fines, okay? So lo and behold, we had Josh come in as a maintenance person. The DEP has been really good in helping us figure this out and so forth. We lost Josh a couple weeks ago. He went to a full-time position, I believe at UMass. And so around Christmas week, we got this amazing resume from Mark DuPont, who will be here in 2 weeks to go before you guys. He is a 6C engineering license. He is retired. He retired for about a year. He felt bored. Social Security wasn't all it was cracked up to be, and he was looking for part-time work 2 to 3 days a week. And he saw our ad on Indeed and said, this looks really good. I like small plants, so forth. So he tossed his hat in the ring. He interviewed very well. His references have come back very well, and we're bringing him in, and we want to get him on board at least 2 days a week going forward. All right, so we are starting to hit that staffing. Going forward with the staffing, Everett came on this fall as a part-time, so there's a position, like I call it the weekend position, and sometimes it's Everett and sometimes it's Sam Stevens. All right.
So they're doing, sorry, Karen, so
ahead.
they're doing one day a week, basically, since,
Mark is doing 2,
yep.
and Sam and Everett co-share, if you will, 20 hours a month.
Okay,
All right.
gotcha.
We're looking to have like an on-call roster, like a second string. Anybody that from another plant that wants to come in and take some hours, or when we need to call, in the situation of Isaac being really sick, we will have sort of a first string and a second string. So that's where we are on the hiring. This fall, we filled out the Clean Water Trust survey. Go ahead, Mary.
No, I was hoping you'd bring that up. That's all.
Okay, the
Yeah,
Clean
please.
Water Trust survey. We filled it out, and it is due back from Congress around March or April. It's a needs assessment. What do we need? And Isaac and I said we need everything. right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that has gone in. It's for plants that haven't done a survey for over 10 years. They now get onto the docket to be the next round to go in. Congress looks at this. When they go to the EPA, they set aside billions of dollars in funds to help get these plants up to snuff. We have not heard back. We will hear back around March or April. This summer, we completed the sanitary sewer overflow project. So not only do we have this large upgrade that we have to do, but as that's going on, there's continual regulation changes. And this was one of them that came in. And what it means, is that if there is a problem and sewage is let loose into the river, okay, we have a whole form and time frame and emergency announcement, okay, and there's a couple different, like, is it a super emergency, is it a small, is it contained, it's an emergency but it's contained, what are the steps we have to do, and those steps are within hours. That's another reason why we need to do staffing. Isaac can't be there all the time. All right, we got that in. Sandra was a big help in getting that up on the website. The emergency broadcast that goes out over the website satisfied the DEP for being able to announce that there was a problem, and signs go up and everything else. We got our paper in December from the DEP that said, congratulations, you've passed. You have to put all this technology up. And then they go from website to website, and every town that has that, and they look through it and make sure it works. So we got our letter in December and said, congratulations. And then in the middle of the letter, it said, oh, by the way, if you have these certain metrics of primary home language other than English, you've got to have the pages published in those languages, of course. We did not hit those metrics to have them published, but we worked on it. And we have said we're ready to go if they come back and say everybody's got to do this. We have the ability now to click a button. We have to put the instructions up, but we have the ability to click a button, and we can translate those pages into 134 different languages by the click of a button.
Excellent.
Great.
You don't want to get into a situation where you have a page in English, a page in Chinese, because you got to keep maintaining those. So you want to use things like Google Language Translation Toolkit and so forth to just let it be your friend.
Karen, I'm just going
Go ahead.
to pause for one moment. So I'm doing a time check. So we're at 6:15.
Oh my goodness.
So, and I know Tom speaks fast, so.
Okay.
So feel free to keep going. I just want to get a sense of, because I know you, I'm also looking at the budget, and I know you came before both the select board and the finance committee. You were first up last week on the sewer commission budget. Congratulations on that. So was there anything that you wanted to bring forth on the budget part too, or the ARPA funds, anything along those lines?
ARPA funds were, that's actually on my things here.
Okay,
Thank you
good.
for the ARPA funds.
Okay.
The ARPA funds, we got $107,617 for very, very needed equipment. I mean,
Yeah.
it probably saved us through this winter. We did finish a sewer lining. We've got more technology coming in. Every time we turn something over, we realize how old it is, including technology. So we're getting some high-speed internet in down there.
Oh, good.
And then the asset management project, that's the biggie.
Yes.
That is the
How's
biggie.
that going?
Good. We have Ty and Bond as our engineer. They're one of the best. That is the precursor, part of the consent order, that is the precursor to any big projects going forward. What do you have? How bad is it? What can we do per the consent order? And then we move forward with the big projects. Collection system first, plant second. The asset management project is collection system only. We need grants, we need USDA loans, we need. Anything else, B?
So the asset management plan, what's the time frame on that? I forgot.
August.
Okay. It started in August or it ends in
Ends
August?
in August.
Okay. And so then that gives you a whole analysis of what the major issues are and how to tackle them?
An analysis and some kind of response. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that, per your introduction, that's moving you closer in addressing the consent
Then we can
order.
go for grants.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Good to know.
Are you or Isaac attending the FERCog meeting that's
I will,
on
yeah, I'll be there Friday.
Oh, wow.
the Clean Water Action Trust and various other
Ooh.
state entities are coming to
Right.
Greenfield too.
I'm gonna go through, just simply I have that day off, so
Good.
Yeah.
when I go.
Any questions for Karen?
You asked about the budget. I did a handout there.
I saw and
It's
you
part of-
went back in time, it looks like.
So what we're doing with technology is we're taking all of this stuff that was paper and everything else, and we're putting it into tools like Excel. We're putting charts up.
Mhm.
We can now see not only what's been expended, but hey, when do we spend the most on chemicals? Well, other than going through 12 different pieces of paper, now we can pop it up and see, is it winter? Is it summer after a rain event? Does this give us the ability to bulk order some things? So we have really started automating the budget and automating the expenses as well, so that it's always up to date.
Coming into the 21st century, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Michelle and Aaron have been absolutely amazing. They, we couldn't have done this without them. They've really been a big help.
Good to know. Karen, thank you for updating us on a regular basis and for all your hard work. I know you're spending a lot of time on this. And I know Alex knows how much time and what some of the issues are, right, over the course of time.
Yeah.
Just like we tackled, and I just want to clarify too, you're separately elected as a separate board, so you're coming to us and giving us an update.
It's important this.
Yeah, I mean, this was something I think we had talked about last year, so I just want to thank you for coming and giving us an update on what's going on and what you're working on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's separate, but it's not really
Yeah.
separate.
Well, it's for the whole town, well, not the whole town, but
Actually, it is.
it's a large chunk. Yeah.
And then Karen, I'm putting some notes together here.
Sure.
Would it be okay if I just emailed you some
Sure.
point, just answer a couple of questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You probably want to be my lovely assistant and all the other updates.
Thanks for the visual, by the way, that was good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of getting into millions of gallons per day, and it's just like,
Right.
because we're there, we're at
Make it
capacity.
elementary.
What's
Well,
that? What's
Make
that?
it like as elementary as
Talk to me
possible.
like I'm a 4-year-old.
Because when
Fourth
it
grader.
overflows, it goes in the river.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay. Thank you.
very
you,
much.
Karen.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay,
Well done,
Tom.
well done.
Speaking of sewer commission and hard work,
It's all yours.
there's no snow.
Right now, it's starting to rain a little bit.
How's it going? And I just want to say, I know we all do, like, thank you so much for the hard work. Just the pictures were worth more than 1,000 words of how many downed trees, and I know you
Yeah,
guys.
Still a mess.
Yeah, and I know folks were worried about you too. People were talking
Yeah.
on next door and like, what can we do? And so people wanted to bring food and things like that. But
Oh, I appreciate it.
So, removing trees and stuff like that, I'm more concerned about how you're doing, Tom. 'Cause
Yeah.
Oh, no,
the-
fine.
I mean, we can always clear trees and get a road back up to speed, but it's important that we are looking after our own town employees as a select board. So I would like to hear from you and from the individuals who worked with you on, I can't question mental health in open session. That's against the law, but just how you're doing and all the work that you've been putting on and what
Oh,
you're doing
it's-
to maintain that.
Definitely the 2 weeks ago was I mean, you probably saw it in our hours. It was long, it was tiresome, and we were gonna work Saturday just to do more, but I told everybody they needed to take Saturday and Sunday off, so. We had all the major stuff open, so every house was accessible and everything, but there's nothing you can do for it. I mean, other than get through it. If we hadn't had all the back-to-back snow, it would have been different, but it's that time of year. I'm used to it. A couple of the new guys,
How they doing it? How
they're
they
doing
Yeah.
it. Yeah, they're
Is
doing
that
all
like
right. They knew it
baptism
by
by
the end of the.
fire?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
understood what I said. Sometimes you feel like you live in here. By the end of 2 weeks ago, they said, "Now I see what you said when you interviewed us." But no, they all stuck with it and came and went as we needed them. I mean, there was some nights we went home and we were back within an hour because the phone was ringing. So, but there's a lot of damage, and I just wanted the townspeople to know we're working at it. It's slow. I got to work with Andrea to figure out money. That's the. I mean, I did a rough estimate the other day, and it's hard to say. I mean, with all the leaning trees, the broken trees, the trees that are down, it's close to $100,000 probably worth of work that has to be done. Still.
And where are you mostly focused at this point?
Right now, we're focusing on the main roads. Like we were on South Mountain today. We're going back there the next couple of days, weather permitting. We got a lot of hangars up there that are in wood still in the edge of the road. Last week we concentrated the whole week on Warwick Road because that was an absolute mess. That's maybe 3/4 complete. But I did get word today. I spoke with the power company today, and they're supposed to come up and assess a lot of things now, like Warwick Road for one. So there's the possibility of some of the work that I figured there, the power company might work with us because they went out. I think they put the wires back up 4 times that week out there. They no sooner put them up and another tree came down.
Oh,
So
God.
they've decided now that it's an area. They haven't concentrated a lot because it only feeds really, I think there's 2 houses that are on it. But it's 2 houses in a stretch of a couple thousand feet. We did a lot because they were already down on the ground and the power was dead the first couple of days we worked out there. And then up past those other houses, there's no power lines, so we could drop the trees and whole, which is a lot easier than piecemealing them down one piece at a time. I mean, we still had a tree company in there working with us.
You pulled an 80-hour work week, Tom.
100.
Yeah.
That's what he meant. That's what he meant to say.
80 regular,
We're
80 in
seeing
overtime.
it on this week's warrant, so we know.
No, it was
Yeah.
right around 100 hours. So
Yeah,
that 1 week between the plowing and everything else that we did from Sunday on.
yeah.
Like I said, it was a long week. But that's just that's what we're concentrating on. Orange Road, it's passable, 1 lane, but there's several days of working out there that
Okay.
have to be done, but all the houses are accessible. Everything we have is accessible.
Right.
1 lane, there's wood in the road, people just need to use caution. And the hard part too is because we had to plow, a lot of the stuff is plowed into the snowbank, so it's frozen. So when you go up, you got a twig hanging out this far, but it's frozen in the snowbank, so
Yeah,
you have to
that's
dig
not
it all out or pull it
Oh.
out, or that's taking a lot longer as well. So we're hoping with this warm weather, some of the stuff will loosen up. But it's basically on the mountains. It's Warwick Road, Alexander Hill, South Mountain, Gulf Road,
Okay.
parts of Old Wendell Road. Pretty much South Mountain from the 4 corners up over the hill, the backside is where most of the damage was done.
Okay.
And Gulf Road, we obviously worked that Friday and got that opened up for the weekend. And there's still a little bit of damaged stuff on that. That's going to be a major problem. It's like the ice storm that we had probably here 8 years ago, where the trees are all leaning. They're wedged between the guardrails and the bankings, and you have to hire a crane. You have to close the road down again. That's the only way you can remove them because they go up on a cliff and nobody can get up there. It's not something that has to be done overnight, but it's challenging. And the other challenging part is like on Warwick Road, a lot of the trees are in the brook. So now they're damming the brook up.
Oh,
And now they're rerouting the brook over this towards the road or towards the other way because the trees came on off the bank on the opposite side, but it took down 4 or 5, so it laid them right in the bed of the brook. And we can't reach them. And we got to go down in there. The water was too high the other day. We were going to go down a rapid chain around some of them, but the water was just too high. So if the water slows down, we can get some of them cleaned out. But
So is that kind of a catch-22, Tom, with the, if you get slightly warmer weather, you get stuff melting and
oh yeah.
and then you get more water flowing?
Right.
Okay.
And the other big problem that's happening is these trees came out because there's no frost in the ground. So the trees uprooted the stump and all. So now you take a stump that was solid in the ground like this table, and now the water's going under it towards the road because the stump is tipped out.
Oh,
So it's more of a mess than you really see for unless you're right there doing it. It's
yeah.
to see all the uprooted stumps, and there's a bunch of trees we pulled out of actually 2 of the bridges that we have up there that went down through. So, you know, we do the best we can do. I mean, but there's going to be a lot more. It's going to create a lot more work down the road for stability on the bankings of the brooks now. It's like a snowball reaction. It's not
Right.
just trees down.
Right. So really what you're saying is, because I know you'll be back for other updates, right? So we're all kind of driving around like, oh, everything's fine, it's warming up, and you're like, you know, those storms are like the gift that keeps on giving. So you're still working on what transpired for us is like past history, similar to the storm last year too, right? And then you just have to keep climbing your way out of that situation for potentially many months.
And I mean, if people see something, trees hanging or whatever, really leave a message. Because we don't see them all. We're trying. I mean, the other night in the wind, we were up on Gulf Road a couple more times they were hanging trees, but when the wind blew Friday night, we got called out for trees down up there.
Okay.
And stuff that we can't reach too is stuff that's broke off, and we haven't got to some of it. I mean, but
You mean it's when you say hanger, you mean it's literally
it's
hanging
literally
up in
broken, just
oh.
hanging down, stuck in
Okay.
another piece, or stuck on a power. There's some stuff stuck on the power lines. The power company's still working on.
Okay.
I think there's 2 or 3 of them on 4 Mile Brook still, unless they've got them today. But
Okay. Does anybody else on the board have questions?
I would just like to state what I just side spoke with Andrea, that
Yeah.
even though we did declare a state of emergency as Northfield, the state itself did not declare a state of emergency. That means we cannot be reimbursed for this.
It's not a FEMA MEMA expense because they
So-
didn't declare it. So we're gonna have to.
That's
Skip
why-
said that he was working with, I'm not sure who he met with. I thought it said his name was Chris. But he rode around one day looking at all the damage and
Oh, from
said
one
they
of
were
the-
going to look at maybe some emergency fund reimbursements for smaller towns like us that got hit. I know Warwick is, I mean, I only drove 2 roads in Warwick this past weekend, and I
Are
thought
they
we had.
open? Because I know
They're open, but
Okay.
honestly, they're probably in a lot worse shape than we are. I mean, I just went up 78 and down into Northfield, and if you look out on the banks, it's just amazing the stuff that's got broke. I mean, there's a lot of weight on the trees that they can't handle, and because we haven't had frost this year.
Yeah.
The ground is soaking wet from the rain that we've had, and you had no frost. And I had said to my wife Friday night when they said there was another storm coming, I said, we're in big trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, because you could
I
hear.
mean,
things.
luckily we didn't get the storm that Wednesday, well, that other one that we were
Right.
supposed to get, because it would have been even
worse.
Oh, it'd probably still be closed now, honestly, the way they were coming down.
Oh my goodness.
Is there any No, there's not. Is there any solution on how to solve these issues so that we're not in these financial situations? I mean,
Not particularly. I mean, you can only cut so many trees, but then, I mean, and it's sad to say, but there was a death due to, what was it, Southwick or whatever, an infant got killed because a tree fell, but it's all about saving some of the trees, but a lot of these trees are dead, but you still properly, unless you have a storm like this, you can't cut them unless you go the whole process, and you got to label everything. I mean, it's a process for the amount of roads we have. I mean, if it's a dangerous tree and we know it's rotted, but some of these pine trees, like if you went out on the Warwick Road, the center of them is hollow, but you would look at them and they look like a healthy tree.
So, what you're saying is when there's a tree that is dead, we have to go through the tree
A
loving
dead
people?
tree, you don't have to if you can determine it's dead or dangerous.
And who determines that?
I do as a tree warden.
Okay.
But there's a lot of stuff that some of these trees, honestly, on Warwick Road, I've been through already, and they were already leaning. And I had been to the conservation a couple of years ago about them, and they wouldn't let us cut them because it was going to damage the environment. Well, to me, it's damaged the environment more now.
Don't you just find that frustrating a little
Very
bit?
frustrating to me because
It's
it's
not
done more
frustrating.
damage to the environment by the stumps coming up, and now you're washing mud down the brook, whereas that stump wouldn't have uprooted if you had cut the weight of the tree off of it.
Oh, I love Massachusetts.
Controlled cut it down too, so
Yeah.
it wouldn't have taken
Yeah.
5 other trees down when it came down.
Right.
And I mean, the tree, we don't have much of a tree budget, and it's hard with the miles of road that we have.
Well, and we're heavily forested. too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And to your point, I know there's certain trees that you don't know that they're rotten until they go, and
Yeah.
then they go like in one big fell swoop. Is there anything from a Western Mass delegation? Is that who you were riding around with when he says
I
Christopher?
don't know
is
who
that
that
like a
person is. I'm
staff?
gonna reach out to Skip
Yeah,
and
I
see
don't
who that
remember who
person
it was.
was.
Okay.
He talked to me real quick and said he rode around. It was the day we were trying
Oh,
to
he rode
golf.
around with Skip, not
Yeah, he
with you.
rode around with
Oh,
Skip,
Okay.
yeah.
It could be somebody from NEMA, so I'm gonna reach out to Skip. I
Okay.
did call
All right.
Skip
So
anyways.
we'll dig.
Yeah.
Do a little bit of digging because I know Senator Comerford and
I think that's who they said they were going to try to contact
Yeah.
about these surplus emergency funds or something.
I think even when she hasn't been able to come through with stuff, I know she's been very responsive in terms of understanding what the issues are, particularly in this area. And particularly for Warwick and Northfield, because we share that.
Yeah.
I know when you talk about Warwick Road, I'm always thinking about Warwick because you've got up until the town line and then they've got a whole nother issue going on the other side of that. So, all right, so we appreciate the update.
Very much
We
so.
very much appreciate the service to the town.
Yeah,
I,
thank
you know,
you.
to Alex's comment, and we are concerned. I know Skip, as the emergency management director, this was my first technical emergency, so Skip literally showed up on my door with the form. He's like, "B, the one time I'm charging my phone or something." But he made it very clear to me that you guys were in great communication.
Mhm.
And he had a really clear sense when he was giving us updates of like what was accessible from a standpoint of if we needed to get into somebody's home, we can get there. So I know that you guys worked really, really closely together, and I think
Well,
all
they
of us are
assisted us on a
appreciative.
lot of things too, helping with trees. They actually put 4 or 5 guys together for a bunch of us on Warwick Road on the Tuesday night
Yeah.
before the next storm was supposed to come in.
Oh,
And another 4 or 5 guys went up the Gulf Road with 1 or 2 of our guys helping out. The same with the police. They went around to try to help us and tell us where stuff was down. If it was something that was easy to clear, there was not to waste our time if there was a power line involved, because for me to travel down and say, well, there's nothing I can do. Going
looks
to the
like a
fire-
power line.
Yeah, there's nothing you can
Yeah.
do. And, and the power company, for a while, they were good. And then I think they just got overwhelmed as well.
Didn't I can't remember if it was you or Skip was saying that they actually had a problem with I think Skip said there were problems with tickets going in
Yeah,
and
their
not showing
computer.
up, and they had to fix that problem
Yeah.
with their computer system to know that tickets were still open. So
No, we had a lot of problems on the ridge, which is, I've been talking to Andrea about that, but I mean, the
Yeah.
problem up there is and it's funny because I had just met with the power company and a tree service for one of the trees that came down and took down 2 poles up there and everything else. But I mean, the price the guy gave me just to take down 8 trees, they have to be craned down, was $10,000.
yikes.
And one of the trees now is down, but there's still, all the pine trees are still been compromised in this area, so they have to come down. That's what I'm hoping maybe, but the power company doesn't like the rustic ridge any more than the rest of us, so.
Well, from the challenge of the rustic ridge.
From a maintenance
Yeah.
standpoint, it's a lot of maintenance.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's hard maintenance because of the
Yeah.
trees and the power lines and where they are. And I mean, they did a lot of damage as well because they had to plow out some of the ridge roads because the power lines broke off 3 or 4 buildings down on roads that are never maintained up there.
Yeah, and
So there's a ton of damage on all the roads up there right now that got, not like I said, just from the trees coming
Yeah.
down, but the water and having to deal with the poles and the big trucks that normally aren't up there this time of year.
oh my goodness. Okay, so you're gonna have to come back. So we're gonna stay tuned. So I think this is the important thing, right? Is you come on a regular basis, so we know what's going on, and we also know what the work is when, for the rest of us, our driveways are clear and we think everything's okay. So please, I think on behalf of the board and the town, please give our thanks to
I will.
you and the
Yep.
team, right? I think
I
we
will.
mentioned that during one of our select board meetings, but you guys would have been out plowing and doing stuff anyway, but we'll continue to say it again, how much we appreciate the
Okay.
work. Yeah. Okay,
All
we'll
right.
schedule you when, well, next time, any emergency, obviously, but
I hope
hopefully
there's
the
no
weather
more.
will be better.
Okay,
We'll
thank
keep
you.
our fingers crossed.
All right, thanks.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Tom.
Yay! All right, 350th, come on down.
I can follow that.
Hi.
Yeah. How many poles have you climbed to hang some signs? No,
Not that many.
Just kidding. Stacy, are you kidding?
Yeah, so you've got the Stoyas are here tonight.
The Stoyas.
Thank you. And I know you guys were a little bit affected by the weather. You're going to give us an update on the events that are going to be happening and the fact you're going to remind everybody that we finally made it to the anniversary year.
Happy birthday,
Woohoo!
Northfield.
Yeah. So go ahead, give us an update and
So, yes, as we like to say for all of this, I have this whole list and stuff. I'm not going to go through it individually, but our website, northfield350.org. It's the hub of all the information.
so
if
all
you-
this is on the website.
anything that's solidified, yes, is on the website. And there's any information that you want to know, and if you miss something, then that's the place to go. So I don't know if this is just sort of a little 2 pages chock worth of stuff. And I'm not going to hit every single thing, but I will talk about, first of all, the Luminaria was a huge hit coming into the year, and it was really nice. I have to give Pat Shearer all the credit for that idea, and it was nice to have everybody have their lanterns and their candles and stuff, and anybody could participate on that, which was really nice. And there were lots and lots of people who participated. It was really fun to go down Main Street and see all the lights and stuff. And I think it's Fisher Road who had the tiki torches down the road and had a party going on. That was fun.
That's nice.
Yeah, so
And I know it wasn't just Main Street because it was Pine
it
Meadow
was
down
lots,
where you
yeah,
are.
all over the place.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
road, somebody had it going on. It was
Yeah.
so much fun.
Yeah, so we plan on doing that again as we usher out 2023
Oh, nice.
on December
Okay.
31st. So, and then coming up really soon, we have our first big kickoff February 18th and 19th. So the 18th, it's going to start at the Northfield Elementary School from 9 to noon, and there's Tom Riccardi is going to be there, the Raptor
Ooh,
guy,
yeah.
the Raptor rehabber. Roger Tagnell, who's internationally known musician.
Yeah.
He does songs and stuff for all ages. He's really entertaining. And our kids and family focus group, along with the PTO, are going to work in the cafeteria with some snacks and food and some other little crafts and drinks and things for the kids. So
Nice.
that'll be in the morning, and sort of our indoor stuff. And then we have the outdoor stuff over at First Light from 2 to 4. They're getting a horse-drawn wagon ride, and I love horses, so I'm excited about that. They have the bonfire, s'mores. I think they're opening up their indoor museum for self-guided tours.
Oh.
That hasn't been open in years.
Oh.
Right.
So it'll be nice to see that. Yeah, and so they're doing their fun, and hopefully the weather's good so we can do, skiing and or tubing or something like that. And then the following day, Sunday, February 19th, with a snow date of the 20th, we are co-sponsoring a talk on the Sokoke, their response to the colonization and their role in Northfield's beginnings, with Peter Thomas, who's the chair of the Deerfield's 350th. So that'll be at the Trinitarian Church. So that's going to be really cool.
Will there be any natives there?
That I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
There will be a reception afterwards, and there will be some items from the 350th on display, or the 300th on display, which will be really cool.
Okay.
So, but if you want to talk about more, I mean, if you've looked at our history portion, it's got a lot of
Right.
native, indigenous
So impressive,
topics and
Stacey.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
we have.
This is chock full.
Chock full.
It is chock full.
Well, I
Yeah.
can see just
Mary
by the
King
names on
chock
here.
full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She did a terrific
Shout
job
out to
with the
Mary
history.
King.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just looking at some of the names on here, the association with the Nolambika Project,
Mhm.
with the
Rich
El,
Holshoe.
and with the
Mhm.
El Nuabeniki tribe,
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
as well as historic Deerfield. So
Right.
Right,
really, this is top
So
notch.
exciting.
Right.
Yeah, this is top notch. There's fun and activities.
We did a talk at the
For
Mary,
everyone.
Misha, and I were at the senior center, and one of the senior center people had said that they felt like not only was it loaded with stuff to do, but it was evenly distributed across the board with kids and history and fun stuff, and it just had a nice wide variety, which was what we were hoping for.
Yeah, this is great.
Right.
And then as the weather gets nice, there's more outdoor stuff too. And
Right.
the Pioneer Valley Symphony is in June.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's like
That's
another.
the big.
Yeah. And we opted for the full symphony, so the big shebang with that. So
We're
that-
getting all the instruments.
all of them.
Yep.
That's going to be
Excellent.
extraordinary.
Yep. And then the other, and of course the sort of wrap up portion is on
Softball
September 30th.
game
Yeah. Well, we're working
against
on.
Deerfield. Yeah.
We're trying to organize it. They haven't gotten back to me yet, so. But there will be something, and that's for Recreation Commission.
So much.
Yep. Yeah, and then
This is great.
Harvest Moon dinner dance. Obviously the parade will be huge, and the fireworks down at 4-Star at the brewery.
Yay for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's even some last minute type stuff. I'd say last minute, but we have a golf tournament. Got our eyes on Alex for helping with that.
We need some. Creamy needs a sponsor.
Yeah, that's the Boardners, so they're
Okay.
got some really cool
Great.
ideas up their sleeve for
Yes.
that. Yep. And then the PD theater play, that's should be a go ahead, and that's going to be involving the school kids at the elementary school
Oh.
to do a play based on Northfield's history. That'll be in the fall at some point.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, and maypole dance, and the Gravestone Girls we just got on board, so they're gonna go through our
Oh, cool.
yeah
I'm
our,
familiar with
our
them.
own cemeteries
Yeah.
and do a talk based on some of the information in those. And we were talking about trees, and that we have the tree 50th program. That's there. Martha Tenney and Judy Wagner are working on gathering donations and stuff to replace some of the trees down Main Street that need replacing.
Oh,
So maybe Tom will spend less time on Main Street. Not that that was one of the big ones hit, but so yeah, there's quite a bit, and then we also have
oh yeah.
a few extra stuff coming through for purchasing for memorabilia and things.
Angle
and
it a
this is our
little bit so
Oh,
that
yeah.
the camera
that?
picks it up. Yeah,
Doors of
Oh,
Northfield.
there it is.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
Kate Woolner and
Joan.
who's the other photographer?
Carol Pike and
Yep.
Kate Wilner.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. I just met Carol the other day, so
Can you hold that back up,
Oh,
please?
I can
Thank
do it
you.
again.
Thank you.
Should I stand and do
And
my?
it's just so beautiful.
Are they selling it like a poster?
Yes,
somewhere?
$16.95. It could be mounted on this through Staples. I think was it like $20 maybe.
Very
It's
nice.
fabulous.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And you guys, I'm sure, have all seen the pottery. So we
Yeah.
have plenty of that, and pins and magnets. Steve always wears his, and I always
Yeah,
forget
that's
to wear
awesome.
mine.
I haven't seen the magnets.
It's the
What are
same
those?
thing. It's just they made them into magnets because there was a request for
Yeah,
magnets as opposed to
I
pins.
was- yeah.
And you're selling those at the local, at MIMS and IGA?
Currently, yeah,
Yeah.
you can, and you'll get them at some of the events and stuff at pop-ups also.
Mhm.
And there's also a little glass mug that'll be less expensive than the pottery mug that will have our logo on it and stuff, so that will be available as well.
Like a beer mug?
More like just Martha.
Irish coffee?
Yeah, yes.
Like an Irish coffee.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. I
So
was just thinking of, anyway, our
yeah,
local
I mean, I could
breweries.
go on and on, but I'm
Yes.
sure you have other
It's
other
endless
things to
what
do.
we Absolutely.
So again, see our website, northfield350.org.
Well,
We'll
why
give you
don't
what you
we
need.
see if anyone has any questions, but why don't we highlight the ones that are, you said Thursday, February 16th, there's a presentation
Mhm.
at
Very
the library.
Northfield.
Regarding map boundary changes over time. That sounds super fascinating.
It does.
And then Saturday, February 18th is the Kids and Family Fun Day, both
Yeah.
at the school in the morning and at the afternoon down at First Light.
Yep.
And then Sunday, February 19th is a really, really interesting talk,
Fascinating.
which is a joint program, I believe, between us and Historic Deerfield
Mhm.
on the tribal presence in the area.
Mhm.
Great.
Thank you.
What else would you like to give a shout out to your one? And you have the parade and that big event coming. That's not till the fall, right?
And remind people that if they want to be in the parade, we're still,
Yes.
there's forms here if you don't want to do it online, but you can get a link to do it online.
Yes, we're still looking for parade participants, right?
Sure, and then please fill the paperwork
Andrea's
out. though.
been lovely to help us with that
And we've got-
endeavor.
We've got a coordinator who contacts everybody, contacting everybody back, and so we really need to get that paperwork in if you're really interested, because at some point we do have to close it because we then have to plan the parade.
Right, absolutely.
But it's still open and looking for all sorts of Northfield
Alex is
groups
going to
as
build
well.
a premier
Like
animal house.
youth, we want to get some of the youth involved. I was talking
Yes.
to the rec director. We
Yeah.
got some sports.
The
going.
rec, I know the rec director well.
Yeah, we got an in with her. So.
I was like, do you want a rec update as well? But I know it's not on the agenda. So.
We'll put you down for
Next
another
time.
meeting. That's a whole nother, given the list of things I see
The-
coming out of the
I
rec
just-
commission,
I
that's a
just
whole nother half an
Dropped
hour.
3 new things today.
Oh my God.
Stacey Matava is involved in all of this.
Oh,
too,
yeah.
right? You know.
I mean, yes.
Yeah. A shout out to
Yes.
Matava.
Shout out to the
These
Stoyas.
guys- The Stoyas have been.
Stoyas.
The Stoyas have brought the money and the sponsors and I mean
Making this all
everybody on
possible.
this
They're very
committee.
good at asking people
Oh
to
yeah,
do things.
they've been doing yes. Everybody on this committee. This has been a full-time job for us for 2 years. It's been quite the thing, but we're really proud of what we are producing, and I feel like it's going to be huge and a big memory for everybody.
Absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
we're super proud of, and grateful to all of you, both in the room,
Yeah.
the Stoyas and you, and I know that there's a whole host of people.
Oh yeah.
So many.
And Alex
So
is on
many.
the committee too.
Yeah.
And
Just let us know
Andrea.
if
These
there's
guys
anything.
have been helping, and I mean they're just everywhere.
Yeah.
Joan has a question.
Oh,
Just drawing attention to the sponsors on the website.
excellent.
We have Thomas Aquinas College. We have Northfield Mount Hermon. We have significant participation from our major institutions in the area, and they're going to be doing bigger and better things as they kind of figure out what goes with their curriculum. So do take a look at the sponsors and thank them when you're out in the stores and out and about.
Yeah,
Okay.
good. Thank you for
Yeah, I'm
reminding
really
us.
glad that Joan brought that up.
Excellent. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
You're
So we're going to have you come back now that we are in the 350th year we'll have to have you come back for other updates, because this is just a huge list.
It's a huge list.
Yeah, I'm really,
If you can't find something that you like on here, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. You'll have another town.
wait a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, wait a week.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
Thanks,
you.
Stacy,
Yeah.
and thanks, Joan and Steve,
And thanks to,
and the photographers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Norm,
And
Norm Egger is volunteering his time to come photograph all these events.
beautiful.
and is there anybody else in the audience from the, do you want to just introduce?
Mary and Scott, you have been involved pretty much from
Oh.
the beginning.
Of course they have.
Right.
I'd like to give them applause for sure. Thank you.
Just in case you had like other folks here.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys are
Thank you,
remarkable,
guys.
really. The love for the town.
Thank you. Okay, guys. All right. I think we're in good shape here. Let's do the warrants. Payroll warrants.
Motion to approve the February 8th, 2023 payroll warrant of $80,219.31.
Second.
Motion and a second. And I know that includes snow removal wages I saw
Yeah,
from
right.
Yes,
there.
it does.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Vendor warrant.
Motion to approve the February 8th, 2023 vendor warrant of $125,996.60. This includes the clean water sewer grant.
Motion and a
Second.
second from Mary. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and review and approval of the minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the January 24th, 2023 minutes?
Motion to approve the January 24th, 2023 minutes.
Motion and a
Second.
second from Bernie. All those in favor, any discussion on those?
Good.
I
Aye.
did find, oh no, this was in the second one, I think. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sorry. I caught myself. It's
Yeah.
the next one.
All right.
I'm so proud of myself. I
Yeah.
found a typo.
Ah, those eyes.
Darn it, there was nothing, it was just a name. Raina Dastu has an S on the end of her name. So if we could get a motion to approve those minutes with the correction to Raina's name, that would be great.
Second. Or I motion that
Yep.
we approve the minutes amended with Rena's correction of name, of the spelling of her name
For January 30th.
for January 30th, 2023, 2022.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain for Alex. Okay. Meetings and events attended by select board members. Bernie?
Well, we had the, with the FinCom, but.
Oh,
that's
the interim,
listed.
I'm sorry, I skipped right
That's-
over.
Yeah, skipped
Thank
over
you.
that.
Interim select board meeting, sorry, with
Yeah.
the finance committee that you and I attended, and Heath was on Zoom. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So there's that one. Anything else that you had?
I did the sewer commission meeting on the 1st of February.
Okay.
That was it.
Okay. Mary?
Nope.
Nothing?
No.
Okay. All right. Let me just.
The C5 meeting keeps getting pushed, and so does my FRT. My
FRT.
yeah, it keeps getting moved.
Yeah, I know
too.
everything got moved with
And
the
all
snowstorms
prepared, and
too.
then they
Yeah.
pushed and pushed and
So my list is kind of long
no doubt.
because of the snowstorm. Stuff
Mhm.
got smushed into the last 2 weeks. So Bernie Parada and I from the Finance Committee are attending the PVRS budget subcommittee meetings in addition to the meeting that we had with them. I had a FERCog Finance Committee meeting and the Select Board meeting, of course. Budget subcommittee, there's several of those. And a FERCog council meeting where we reviewed the budget. Our assessment is basically the same as last year. So I've been keeping Andrea in the loop on what
Is
comes.
that here at the town hall?
No, for COG Council, they do it down at
Yeah.
the Transportation Center,
Okay.
and a lot of us have to zoom in.
Mm,
Let's see. Emergency Services Building Committee meeting?
mhm.
Oh, that's tomorrow. Sorry, don't count
Right.
that. Don't count that. I'm looking ahead. Okay, that's it. Alex?
Nothing for me.
Okay, Town Administrator's update.
Sure. I'll start off with the first one. We've been informed that Soul Fest will not be held in Northfield,
Mhm.
and that's all we've been told. So
Well, no
that's it.
surprise there.
We submitted 5 expressions of interest for the One Stop, working with Mallory. Those are the pre-application initiatives that we can ask the state kind of to comment on and steer us in the right directions prior to the applications that go in May. So we submitted for a fire station reuse consultant, and there's going to be a presentation at the select board meeting to talk about the preliminary work done by the FERCog. But we wanted to go the next step. If that project goes forward, we will submit in May.
And we
for a
have to
grant.
do, it bears repeating that we have to do these things way in advance of when we think
Right,
we
this
might
is
need
just
them.
this is just to get some heads
Yeah.
up. May is when we'd actually submit, so we would know by May if this is something service that we want to submit for. But ahead of time, if we submitted by February 3rd, we got to put in 5 expressions of interest. If you don't submit by February 3rd, you only can put in 2. So we wanted to put in 5 just to get feedback. The state gives you feedback, they tell you what programs they have, what might be fundable, they give you some pointers. So we wanted to get those in to get that feedback, because it only helps us. And
Yeah.
then we submit the formal proposals in May once we hear back from the state with any.
Whether or not to
comments.
move forward.
So that was the first one. The second one is a parking management plan. We submitted to ask about that. We submitted an expression of interest for placemaking workshops and some project implementations there. A business park feasibility study, and Highland Ave sidewalk and culvert designs. Because there
Right.
is an engineering portion, so
Wow.
we had some quotes we did get from the engineer, so we sent those in and said, hey, could we get some funding towards design? So those are the 5, doesn't mean they don't even have to be the 5 we applied for, but those were the 5 expressions of interest we put in to see what the state thought about in terms of their fundability, what programs they have when we do the One Stop that might fund those projects and give us some pointers. So those are in, and then we'll get some pointers from them if we'll decide.
And the parking one is it Main Street? Is
Yes.
it- Okay.
To look at parking, to look at the parking lots, to look at, is it adequate? What might happen in those parking lots? Could they be changed? Could we do, so the whole management plan on looking at parking as a continuum through the whole street.
Okay, good. Okay, thank
So
you.
those 5 are in. Mallory has also found a federal grant. We're now working with MassDOT and our legislators to try and get together a grant submission for the end of the month for this very, very competitive grant for Shellbridge. This funding is got over $1 billion from the current administration in terms of our infrastructure grant. And so we're working with MassDOT to see if they're still obligating the funding that they've promised, and then we would try to apply for the piece that's still missing. And she's attending some workshops on how to do those grants. This is a big one, so we really need
This
our
is
legislators, both state and federal. We've been in touch with McGovern's office, and we're trying to set up a meeting right now, including U.S. Department of Transportation, Mass Department of Transportation, some of our legislators,
Goodness.
to get together to talk about the submission, so Mallory can pick some brains before we put this in.
Right.
It's a lot of work, but
Sure
we're
is.
hoping if it can get that last piece of funding that's missing, it's worth a shot. So
Right.
And how long has Mallory been working with us?
just a few months now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
like a
gonna
day.
say.
She's amazing.
So
She's doing a lot. She's really doing a lot. Things that I couldn't even contemplate working on this grant. It's a 176-page instruction manual for this, and she's just dove right into the rubric and is lining up. And every time she comes in, I'm like, and here's the master plan,
Right.
and here's the LRP plan. And so she's just reading everything to try and coalesce. We have the grant that
Bless her.
MassDOT did for the feds that didn't get funded, so we have that. They sent us that.
Mhm.
So, because that is a lot more technical stuff that we wouldn't know. We've asked if we can have access to the engineers that did the 100% design submission, so if she has technical questions on this grant, can she, so she's working hard on that. So she's working on a few things. Plus, she put the USDA grant in for hopefully to get some money towards the new ambulance to cut that cost. We could get up to like $40,000 on that. And we are right now trying to speed through a grant we just discovered for $135,000 to help with the fire department get some gear. But that's due Friday. So
Oh, great.
that's why I'm calling Skip tomorrow, because he has his piece that he needs to fill out. If he gets that back, Mallory and I can finish it up Wednesday and Thursday and try to get that in by Friday.
Oh, wow.
No guarantees, but it would be. We're going to go for the whole $135,000 to replace all.
So you've got that deadline, and then when does the federal one for the
February
shelter?
28th. That's the end
Okay,
of the
so
month.
we got a tight month.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Because
February 3rd was the one stop, so we've stacked them up over Cleveland there.
yeah, so because you and I had talked about having Mallory come in and give an update at some point on everything, but we're like, let's wait
Let's wait
until
till
she's
March
actually
1st.
done with the work.
Let's
So
give her till March 1st.
yeah,
And then I think she'll take a little breather, but yeah, she's
This is
jumped right
exciting.
in first,
that's exciting.
so she's doing
I just,
that.
I always laugh when I come across individuals and municipalities that say, we don't need to spend money on a grant writer, and I couldn't disagree with that statement any stronger, because if you understand the value and investment that a grant writer can provide for your town, where they're easily covering their salary just through covering the basic grants that come out every year, not even searching, just the ones that pretty much are coming to you. Okay, so
Yeah,
that's just where towns are heading. You need to have a grant writer to look for these
in your
monetary
toolbox.
gains in
Yeah,
your toolbox.
And I've done.
You're ridiculous not
I've
to
done
have that.
kind of the low hanging fruit.
you've done a lot of
Yeah.
grants.
I'm 3.7 million in.
Yes.
I've totaled it up.
Totally.
Good.
3.7
Pat on the
million.
back.
We're going to
But-
go through we actually discussed this. We're going to go through the list at one point, so everyone here and in
I
the
told her
town
to track hers so
knows.
she can understand
Yes.
someday.
Can
How
you say
much
that
money?
number again, please?
3.7 million.
3.7 million.
You found $3.7 million in grants since your time here.
Yeah, well, 2 million in one
Okay,
alone.
that's all I needed to hear. That's all Northfield needed to hear. That's
But
great.
at any rate, I
Exactly.
think that I told Mallory that if she actually gets the 12.5 million we think we need for the Shell Bridge and gets that bridge bill, I said you get a whole week of putting your feet up because
Oh, yes,
Oh, yeah.
indeed.
Give her the week.
that would be your
I think
name
she
would
should
be.
get a special float in the 350th parade.
Grant
She could
writer.
ride. She could ride on the Shell Bridge one.
There you go.
So we're keeping our fingers crossed.
Queen
It
of
isn't
the
even
Shell
in yet. We're
Bridge,
keeping
yeah.
our fingers crossed, but we're going to just keep plugging away at it. I said, well, let's look for grants because we didn't get this one. And she comes back a week later. She goes, well, I found this grant. I'm like, you go, girl.
Excellent.
So we're going to keep at it one way or the other. So just so people know, because it was brought to my attention, I hadn't thought about it. Not only did we not get the grant for the Shell Bridge, the Sagamore Bridge didn't get a grant.
Oh,
They
good.
were in for money. So the bridges to the Cape didn't get funded. It wasn't like, oh, they just neglected us. There were some pretty big applications that the state had in for some big
Yeah.
bridges. They didn't get funded. So we're moving on to the next piece, hoping that the $1 billion project gives us some more funding
Great.
opportunities. So
Yes, and Bernie pointed out, Bernie and I were talking about the Sagamore Bridge. Boston did not get a grant from the Department of Transportation for the big area near Alston
yeah,
involving the Mass Pike.
yeah.
So
They
it
didn't
wasn't
get their
just
bridge either. So there's a whole bunch of
Yeah,
them.
so there's a whole bunch of, including
That's how competitive
small
these
Northfield
are.
did not get
Yeah.
those grants. Okay,
Forwarded applications for the maintenance position to Tom to review, and we'll probably email back and forth on who we'd like to screen, and then we'll be setting up some screening interviews.
and that's what Alex is, you
That's
signed up for
correct.
that,
You'll
okay.
probably get an email based on when your availability is. As
Yep.
soon as Tom and I get in touch, he just picked him up hopefully tonight in his mailbox.
Okay,
So he'll have a chance to look at them, and then we usually just hash back and forth. What do you think this person should be interviewed, or no, this one doesn't even rate to bother, and so we'll
Right.
pick some candidates, and then we'll set up a screening interviews.
okay.
So that's going to happen, and I've been working a little bit with the 350th on the parade specifically. So
Yay.
Good work, you're,
that's
Busy.
that's what we've been doing,
Very good, Andrea.
and
Yeah,
a lot
thanks, Andrea.
of budget. I have generated all this paper, so
Yeah,
And we only just started.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, the bulk of it needs to get done pretty
Yeah.
fast.
right. Well, kudos, you know, there's no
Oh,
wrong.
that's the
in
calendar.
Pat on the back. It's huge.
So that's me.
Excellent. So now we're going to talk, and we're going to slide right into talking about the emergency services facility schedule and calendar. Just to get everybody up to speed on that.
Right, so you should have a calendar in your homework. I think it looks something like this. And it says,
Yep.
Emergency Services Building timeline.
Yep.
Emergency Service Building, okay. Mine's a little, I have a little bit more in here, because I,
Does every? It's
in your homework.
Yes?
no,
Go back.
no.
Your
Go in your
homework
book.
packet.
actually in the
Oh,
book.
oh, oh.
Go
okay.
back a page.
Yeah,
So,
and find the chart.
thank
and
you.
I,
Yep.
mine's a little bit longer because I've
Yes,
now
got it.
added the financing piece, since I've met with the financing piece. So now there's deadlines, we have to get things to our bond counsel and to our financial advisor. So I've actually added, but I figured you guys don't really care to know when we have to get warrant article language to bond counsel and all that stuff. But as you can see, it's very aggressive. It's very fast. A lot has to get done pretty quickly, with the goal of ending up at a special town meeting on April 19th. Now, there was a week built in. We could go back to we could go to the 25th, 26th if something were to happen, but we're aiming for the 19th because that gives us a couple weeks before annual, so that some of us can breathe again for a few days and then
Yeah.
prepare for another town meeting. But we kind of, you know, we're kind of on a time frame because we want live bids to bring to the town. We figured it's going to be an evening where we have to make a presentation where we'll have to explain the process, the financing, and show all sorts of things. So it doesn't make sense to do it at a town meeting. You're talking probably an hour or 2 hours by itself.
Right.
And then you got a town meeting that lasts 2 hours. I mean, you just putting the two in the same meeting night, which is pretty much means you probably will vote to postpone to another. So you end up with 2 nights no matter what you do.
Mhm.
So we thought it deserved to kind of have its own night, so that there could be a presentation, there could be questions, and people could really
Mhm.
have some time and not feel rushed.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a big decision. Everybody recognizes it's a big decision, and there's a lot of information to convey. So that's the goal. We'll come in with real numbers because the goal is to have an actual bid opening prior to that, which means that you'll get a number from the contractor that says, I will build your building for this, of a real number. And then we have lots of pieces after that to put financing in place and financing options that have to be discussed.
Mary.
Will, at the special town meeting, Andrea, will there be maybe like a semi presentation
I would think so, yes.
so that the town can
I'd like
kinda
it to
get a
be an actual
visual?
presentation, yes.
Okay, thank you.
That is one of the reasons why is we wanted to do it in a special town meeting, because with the town meetings normally you can only discuss the motion. You cannot discuss all the rationale and the history of
Uh-huh.
what came before the motion. So this was Andrea's idea, and the town moderator, when I talked about it with him, was game for it, is set it up so that you can do the special town meeting and a public forum, get all the questions answered, and then do the technical vote with the motion.
So you could say you
Yeah.
start
The
at,
unofficial
you
meeting
could start
and
at
the
6,
official meeting.
and
Correct.
the special
Yeah.
town meeting starts at 7.
Yep.
And that way you get an hour,
That's very
whatever you
clever.
decide, so
Yeah,
you can
that
do a
is-
Yeah.
complete presentation, you can have questions, answers, you can show things, and then the meeting opens after that.
Mm-hmm.
Where
Yeah,
you actually,
I like that.
yeah,
So we actually
yeah,
would
Bernie.
be voting at the special town meeting on the EMS building.
Correct.
It wouldn't
Yes.
be on the town warrant.
no,
Correct.
It'd be a separate.
it'll be its own
Yeah.
warrant. You'll
Right.
see on there that there's
Own
a
meeting.
date by which
Yes.
the select board has to actually sign the special town meeting warrant,
Right, that's
April
the 4th, right, Andrea?
Right, and the truth of the matter is, you won't even have the numbers yet. But it's just the warrant, and then we will publish the numbers as soon as the bid, because the bid doesn't
Right.
come in till the 12th.
Right.
Because of the way the timing falls, and because when the bid comes in, you usually put in the contract, you have 30 days. They're only gonna hold that bid for 30 days, or they're gonna take another project. They're not gonna give up their whole season while you spend months figuring out whether or not you wanna use them.
Right.
this is a big project. They're going to commit a lot of their workforce to it. They need to know within 30 days whether they got your project or not.
Yep.
So you can't really do all this and then have a week or two to discuss it and then post for a special time, which takes the contractor's like, no. So the warrant will go up, and then we will put out, obviously the number will be open to public anyway. And then you can always cancel a special town meeting if it comes in at some ridiculous, you're like, oh my gosh, we can't do this.
Right.
You can always cancel a special town meeting and reconsider. But there's no way, unless you want to push this off into June, no contractor's going to want to do that, because by June they want to be in the field.
Right.
Questions? This makes sense? Because we could have gone two ways, right? So I'm thinking about the history, because we had to do a historical timeline for the public forum in October. And in the past, I believe they just did a big estimate and it was voted down. And then we chose this time, even though I don't think none of us were on the select board at the time, obviously. This time what we chose is the path where you go and you get live bids. So it's a much more realistic number when the people vote, as opposed to just voting on an estimate and then following up on the estimate and getting the bids.
You'll build in a contingency that you may or may not spend. If you don't spend it, you don't borrow it. But you have to, because you can be halfway through the project and something happens and you need,
Right.
But that is money that's, everybody builds in a contingency. If you don't spend it, you'll spend it.
Okay, good.
But other than that, yes, it will be essentially a bid number.
Right.
Okay.
So,
Any other
So there's
questions
the
on this? Because
timeline.
we're into our next topic, because it's on the timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And just one note that the emergency services facility is meeting tomorrow night, Wednesday night.
Yes,
They normally meet on
Wednesday night.
Thursday nights.
Wednesday night.
So they're
That's
meeting
tomorrow.
tomorrow night. It's here on the calendar, and it's a discussion of the building aesthetics, or what I like to call the look and feel. Given the conceptual design that was discussed in October, this will be like what materials, what features will it, and he'll give some drawings as to what it will look like.
And where is that?
That's tomorrow night
Right
here.
Here.
Yep. So we're encouraging everyone who, if they haven't been up to date, or if they are up to date, this is the meeting to come to.
Right, and they have to understand, we're not redesigning the exterior. We can't at this point. We've already
The size
got
and the shape is the
drawings.
the but the
The
look and feel.
the curb appeal, whatever you want to call it.
right.
There are some choices that can be made, and
And the town gets to vote on that?
well,
or-
we're asking people to weigh in. The committee
Uh-huh.
will ultimately pick it, but they want public participation. They
For
want
sure.
public
Yeah.
comment.
And so when public comes tomorrow night, they'll be able to ask questions
Yep.
and,
He's bringing some drawings. and
okay.
Yep. He's
What
gonna
time's that meeting?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock,
Yep.
right here.
Yep.
Thank you.
Definitely. I posted these meetings on Nextdoor because I'm
Yeah.
like, this is the week to go
To a meeting.
to a meeting. Pick a meeting, but go.
Yeah.
Okay, so our next task then is we actually have to appoint a pre-qualification review committee,
Mhm.
big qualification committee.
Right.
Can you just run us through?
So basically, some
This
of
was
you-
discussed at the last
Emergency services.
Emergency Services Facility Committee meeting, and it needs to be done tonight.
Yes,
but
because
can
they're
you
going to
give-
start they will get subcontractor bids
Yeah.
in. If you look at your calendar, bid documents we'll start to see certain things in the next few weeks. But basically, some of you may have already worked on, I think you all reviewed some of the final projects, right? And you had the application in front of you, and then you had the sheet where you went through and did it meet
Yes.
this criteria, high, low. Well, this is not a quality, this is an actual thing. So it's not going to necessarily be meets, doesn't meet, exceeds.
Right.
It'll be more like meets, what's the price, meets, it's a little bit more meat and potatoes, because they're going to give you a little more meat and potatoes. They're actually giving you the meat and potatoes, as opposed to, do they fit with us, are they good for, that's how we pick a designer.
Right.
This is now how do we pick actual tradespeople and contractors. We're going to review their proposals, and it's more nuts and bolts.
Okay.
So it's a different kind of review process.
And the Emergency Services Facility Committee recommended certain
Yes. You want your designer on it because they're reviewing the specs that they designed.
That makes sense.
Your project manager, you usually put someone from your project team on it because your project manager is going to run the project.
Right.
Me, because I'm the chief procurement officer for the town, so I'm usually involved in most procurements, certainly this size. Bernie, being on the finance committee, because again, these are more numbers, and I think he must have spoken up at the meeting.
He did.
And then they're leaving open the option on your fifth member. It could be a select board member. He's on the committee. It could be Skip, who's the chair of the Emergency Services Facility Committee. But generally somebody else from the committee to be part of that process. So really,
Okay.
you're just trying to pick who the fifth person is and then approve that slate, if that makes sense to you.
And they voted to recommend that
Yes.
makeup to us. So we're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 total. So it's
Mhm.
Yes.
manageable
1, 2,
number.
3, 4,
And they'll only be meeting for that purpose, to review the actual bids that come in for,
3.
to make sure they meet the qualifications that you've released for them.
Okay, so really what we have to do then is accept the recommendation and identify who we think should be the fifth member.
Yes.
Okay. Any thoughts on the fifth member?
No, actually.
Okay. Skip or does somebody from the select board want to be on it? Besides Heath? Well, Heath is on the facility committee. This
Right,
would be
he's
the
your
bid.
appointed representative.
Yeah.
And I don't know Heath's, I thought he was gonna be here tonight, so I didn't bother to ask him. I don't even know if he wants to be on it.
I think he would be the most qualified person out of all of us, since he's been invested in this more than any of us.
Well, not only
Except
that,
that
because of
his
his
plate is
job
full.
experience.
So
too.
Heath or Skipper is really probably your best two options.
Okay.
Okay,
So
well,
can we
definitely,
do?
We'll circle back to that.
Can we?
Yeah.
We need to do it tonight because they need to start operating ASAP
Yeah,
according to the
text?
schedule.
I can text them both and see
Yeah.
if either one of them
That
has a
would be
preference.
great, Andrea.
I
Why
didn't
not?
I wasn't there for that one meeting, so I'm not sure. I hate to text
Why
in the middle
not?
of a meeting, it's not my thing to do, but I think we do need to ask them.
Mhm. Okay, well, she texts us. then.
Can we basically accept the recommendation though? I would think initially a motion to accept the recommendation of the Emergency Services Facility Committee makes sense with a fifth person to be named.
Mhm.
Can we get a motion to that effect?
Yeah, I motion that we accept the committee with the designer, the project manager, Andrea, Bernie, and a fifth member to be named at a later time.
So we're essentially accepting the recommendation
We-
of the Emergency Services
Exactly.
Facility Committee on the
Okay.
composition.
Yes.
Yep.
Second that.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we've got the committee. We just need the
We
fifth.
just need a fifth person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Either Skip or Heath.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to make sure you don't appoint somebody who says, oh, I don't have the time. Or it doesn't, you know what I mean?
No, they have to make the time. That's the
Right.
problem with this. They're
Okay,
talking almost every week. Okay.
all right, they're both out, we'll see if they come back.
Okay.
All right.
Let's move on to special events policy, sewer and water. Bernie.
Yeah, since we came up with the original special events permit application.
Yep.
I've mentioned, having sewer and water on the application. My reasoning being is, need to be upfront with the person putting in the application. Let's not just start adding stuff as it goes. The infrastructure here in the town is important enough. It should be on any application, regardless if it's an enterprise fund. The EMS is an enterprise fund, they're on it. I mean, heck, we have the Recreation Commission on the application, but we don't have the water and sewer. It just, speaks, just stupid to me. Pretty simple what I gave you, just sewer commission if applicable, if the treatment plant is impacted, water districts if applicable, district impacted. I mean, you go to them and get their comments, their conditions, I mean, how it's gonna impact them, there may be a cost
The
involved.
event holder?
Yeah, the event holder, it'll be
So
on
I'm
the
having
application.
the event,
It's gonna be on here, same as these right here,
right.
right
And
on
then
the thing.
how would I fill this out? Like I'd say, I'm having 500 people at my
No,
event.
well, they would go there and they'd have they would talk to them, and they would talk with, say, the sewer commission.
Okay.
And sewer commission, they'd tell them what they're doing, and sewer commission would have their comments,
And
Conditions?
recommendations?
yeah, their recommendations, conditions, if there's some conditions. There may be a cost with the water or the sewer, you know, but
Right.
that's what they can put that in. It's just, you know, it just seems that if I'm putting in an application, I want everything in front of me. I don't want to go through this application and all of a sudden they turn around and, you know, the select board turns around and says, oh, you have to go talk with the sewer commission now. Let's get it on there, if applicable. They know ahead of time. We're being upfront and honest. You know, and we need to protect those systems, our water and sewer here in the town. I mean, you know, we do have the consent order. You know, our treatment plant is, you know, very old. The water district, I've heard lots of things about the new district that, you know, the system up there is in need of a lot of work, and, you know, could that handle a large event? Could the other water district, even though it is separate, if something's going to affect them, they should have a say in it. You know, I mean, it's going to be coming from, the water could be coming from their wells. You know, I'm just saying, let's protect our infrastructure. Let's at least have it on here, because it's not going to take long. If it's not going to be impacted, at least the person filling out the application can look, see it in front of them, and say, and they talk with the water district, sewer commission, and they say, yeah, it's fine. It doesn't affect us. It's not applicable.
I just have one question, since
Yeah.
the application comes to Sandra and I, and we then generally, if it's applicable, circulate it.
Yeah.
The applicant doesn't necessarily go, I mean, person to person to person, so we would be
You would-
changing the
yeah,
process
okay.
now. Because right now, if they bring it in and we say, oh, you're gonna wanna close the street, we gotta take this to the chief.
Yeah.
And so we circulate it to the chief,
All right.
but we
That's
don't
the
normally
process
do
then.
water and sewer, like, we don't circulate it to water and sewer, so now you're saying we would tell them to go to the, and
Well, it's
our
up to
question
you.
is that we need the threshold, like,
Yeah.
what is an impact? Like,
Yeah.
obviously, if it's anywhere where they're on the water district, then they have to go.
Yeah.
So-
They need to include them. I mean, we're doing a new water district, and, you know, there was questions raised about the quality of the dam up there, the quality of the water. If we have a large event that pulls water from there, you know, it could end up being an issue.
So
And-
anytime there's a large event, we're sending them to water and sewer, basically.
Yeah,
Well,
For
because
any
this
large
is
event.
going
any
into
large event,
this.
because it gives them a
Because it's
seat
not
at the
gonna be,
table.
if applicable, well, I mean, I
Oh, we're
guess if
sending them
it's
to the
in,
rec commission, I mean, if it's
Oh.
on the thing.
Oh,
if it's on
No.
town.
Okay,
land.
so-
No,
Okay.
I just wanna understand, because Sandra and I are the ones who have to
All
forward,
right,
and I
but
wanna know.
Let's
that we
pull it into the
understand.
the
Mhm.
board.
Right,
Yeah.
I just wanna know
Okay,
what
so
the process
I'm gonna
is.
restate, if you don't mind.
Mhm.
So sewer, I think we can all agree sewer and water are important. So there's no disagreement on, I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, to everybody else. We're not disagreeing with that, but we are introducing a different kind of procedure in here, which could make this a bit more cumbersome. So can you just clarify up front, Bernie, that for many of the folks that actually use this, I think a lot of this came about as the result of Soulfest. A lot of people who are actually doing events do porta potties and things like that.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you're not going to have the town administrator, their town secretary, or the event applicant go do something if it doesn't apply, right?
Right.
I just want to clarify that
Right.
up front.
But it's like you said, Soulfest, I mean, they say they're not coming, but they could still turn in an application. I'm not so sure they're not gonna still turn in an application. They said they're not gonna be here, but they're still on the websites, not all of them,
Yep.
but they could still turn in an application. I mean, it's not a done deal that they're not gonna turn one in.
It's a
Okay,
done deal.
so
It's a done deal.
Well, until the deadline for for an application. It may be a dead deal
Well, we can't
right
really
now.
discuss it, it's not on the agenda.
Anyway,
Right,
may I raise a point, Bernie?
Yeah.
Hang on,
Oh,
actually, you're-
so sorry,
right.
sorry.
Let me
sorry.
just,
Yeah.
let me just clarify
Yeah.
the guardrails on the discussion then.
Yeah,
So the policy, we're not talking about one event,
right.
okay? We're talking about all events that have to use the policy. So the
Special
reason,
events.
special events. So and so we've had triathlons, we're gonna have a parade,
Large.
we're gonna have all kinds of stuff different from the one that everybody has focused on.
Mhm.
So I just want to make sure that if we're putting in steps, that we're putting it in with the understanding that it has to work for everyone that uses the policy, not just one.
Well,
Okay.
If we don't put it in the policy here,
Yep.
and
I'm
there's
just
an
saying
event and it affects
procedurally.
the sewer commission,
Yep.
then the sewer commission's gonna step in and say no. Shouldn't they be involved up
I'm not
front?
disputing that.
No, I know, but
Okay.
I'm just saying,
I'm
what's
just,
the process for,
Well, I just want to stop one question there. The sewer, it's the select board's permit to say yes or no.
Yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
sewer commission, actually you said
Okay.
can say no, and I just want to be clear, the sewer commission doesn't sign the permit.
right.
Okay.
no one signs the
We
permit.
just want to give them a voice. I mean, they
Sure,
sent a
sure,
letter
sure. That's different.
stating that they wanted
Yep.
to be part of any process, at least have a say if something comes up.
Right. So that's what we're talking about.
That's what we're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
We're also talking about the 2 water districts.
Mhm.
And what I just want to make sure of is that rather than talking about the value of the input, which I think we're all in agreement on, is how would we do it so we don't make the policy so cumbersome that we're asking people to do things that, based on one example, that won't work for all the other examples. That's my only concern.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about this problem, I'm also looking and I'm pushing for how to solve the problem, right? Because having a signature introduces, this is a 26-page form, so there's other
Mhm.
areas where this can be addressed as well. And so adding additional signatures, I just want to make sure that this is going to work for everybody who uses the form,
Yeah.
right?
Well, 90% of them that so far that have come
Yep.
forward wouldn't have affected these.
Right.
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 I'm just saying that if Sandra and Andrea,
Yep.
get a form, and they have any question, it's a quick email off.
Did you ask them, I think this is,
No.
to circle back, did you ask them how this would work for them and the departments? This particular, what you put together, did you ask them and the departments about how this would work for them?
No.
Okay.
I just put
This
it-
is your proposal.
This is my proposal.
Okay.
It's just, I wanted to make it simple. It's just so that they, they have a, they do need a seat at the table, they're included in the form.
Okay, so so I go back to my point of you're bringing a proposal, you're raising the issue, and we might need to solve it in a slightly different way using discussion from everyone, right? So Mary, you raised your hand.
Right, and in regards to Bernie's suggestion and this particular form,
Yeah,
I don't see a problem with it being included in the policy, as it's not even a separate, a monumental hoop that the applicant would have to go through.
okay, so that raises a good point. So
I will tell you right now,
It's
we
just
don't have contacts.
But wait,
we don't have contacts for
I
either of
just-
the water districts.
Okay.
I
So
just want to
wait,
finish my
okay,
sentence.
finish your thought,
Thank you,
and then we're
sorry.
going to,
If it's not applicable, they
So-
can just put NA right on it. It's just another part of the form of the policy.
okay.
Just the application, I don't see a problem with it. is all
Okay,
I'm
so
saying.
you do not see a
Sorry.
problem at
Thank
this
you.
point But we also haven't asked the people that actually do the work whether or not this would work for them.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, no, I'm saying you could put it in.
So-
But we don't have a contact for either of the two water districts. So
So
sewer's
there's
easy.
that.
Sewer's easy. We clearly can
We know
send it
sewer.
to Isaac.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what he would judge it on. They could, you know, I mean, if someone's gonna have something in their backyard or whatever, and they say, we're gonna put in a porta potty, I don't know how many flushes their toilet, I don't know. I'm not sure what the standard is, but that's for sewer to decide. Water,
Yeah, I don't know.
we have a phone number that we send people to, but
Yeah.
for both
So
of them.
you don't have any contacts with the water then? No?
Not
They're totally and legally
separate.
separate.
Okay.
Completely.
So
They're
they're a little
it's
harder
like
to
it's like
deal with.
asking a business owner to sign off on it. That's the problem with the water districts.
Okay.
They were created by the legislation and they're totally separate from the town, and that was actually one of the concerns of the town when we created the new water district, was that the town not be responsible for the new water district.
But we still vote on members to it though?
No.
Only on the original?
Now, the new one, once the new
Just to a
district is in
point, yeah.
place, will be better because we actually will have a contact. Right now, the water company, I didn't know anybody from the water company. So the water district that's going to come, the new Grandin Water District, we will be in a better position because we will actually know the people on there, and there will be an appointment on that. That'll be new. It hasn't happened yet.
But then
But
they'll
the
be
other water
elected.
district,
So
right?
the
then
water right now, for now, you don't have contacts with them? It's,
we call NMH or we
Yeah,
send people
okay.
there. We don't generally call them because,
Yeah.
but generally speaking, we send people to NMH to figure it out, and then
yeah,
we send people to the hardware store for the other one.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like
Okay.
we don't really
All
have a
That's where
contact.
I go.
They don't have an office, so I don't know if they have a
Okay.
secretary. So I mean, just saying, we just need to figure out if there's gonna be a procedure. We just wanna make sure we have one that doesn't send people into the abyss that they are then, it kills it. And I don't.
So at this point,
have
the
any-
water district isn't feasible because you don't have contact?
I don't know where to send them. I mean, I
Okay.
can give them a phone number, but I
But
don't
the
know.
sewer commission is feasible?
Oh, yeah, because we've talked to the
Because we
sewer
can,
commission.
okay.
But,
They're a
so-
separate board,
yeah.
but they overlap
town
with the
department.
town on the use of the town administrator and the use of
Right.
resources. Water,
Well, they're voted on too by the whole town, so there's
Correct.
a connection there.
correct. And the water districts are also voted by their customers, right?
Well, the new
The
water
new water
district
district will be elected,
We'll have one elected member.
Mhm.
so,
But we'll have some contact with them. Once they get
It's-
started, they will be
Oh,
an
yeah.
easier board
And-
to deal with.
by the way, Bernie, I'm not saying this because I don't want to put it in. I'm just saying on the water, it might make more sense to build it into other parts in the policy so that we get the information without holding up the whole application. If,
Compromise.
well, actually, it would, most of the folks who use this aren't going to be draining
No.
the reservoirs
No.
or the wells.
No.
And most of them use porta potties. So the reason why I'm suggesting also to look at other parts of the policy is because then we can say, if you're using porta potties, then you need to submit your porta potty plan, which is already in the policy.
It's with the Board of Health.
Yeah. So then then we don't even have to worry about checking off the sewer because it's not going to affect the sewer. So that's just anyway. I think there's ways of putting water and sewer that will strengthen what you're trying to do if we
Yeah,
make
like
sure.
I understand with
Okay.
not doing the water, but I think the sewer one, it's just easy to put that on there. And it just, if an applicant is looking at the policy, they at least know that if it's impacting it, they're gonna end up being asked to talk with them.
We're going to assume, I'm just going to tell how we're going to implement it. We're going to assume that any large-scale event that happens in the sewer district,
Yeah.
we're not going to, because we can't judge impact.
Right,
I'm not sure how you're going to judge impact,
no,
but we're just going to refer them because I
Yeah.
don't want to be, I'm not going to be in the position of saying if it's applicable or not applicable. I don't know.
right.
Right,
What-
so
what
Bernie's
they're-
putting a form in
So,
to refer
I
them.
understand that, but we're going to ask them to submit their porta potties and then we're going to still send them. But that's okay. I mean, it's no skin off my nose. We just need to make sure that we want to send them to Isaac.
Or the commission.
Well, we can't really send them to commission, they'd have to meet. But I assume we wouldn't hold them up for 3 weeks for a commission meeting, but we would send them to Isaac.
And Isaac will get a hold of the commission. And
So
will
now they have to wait for a commission meeting. So we just want to make sure we build that time into the expectation.
Yeah, that's why
Okay,
you
I
would
just
need
wanna
to
know
reflect
what we're
that
telling
in like
them.
the 100 and possibly in the timeline span, so that, because then we also have to build in when we meet, so every 2 weeks. So we just want to make sure that it's not just the sign off, it affects other parts of the policy too,
It's
right?
gonna affect it even more if we're not on the thing to begin with the sewer commission. Because after everything is all said and done and it finally gets to us and we say, well,
Yep.
this does have an impact, because the select board makes that decision, now we have to wait for the sewer commission, we're talking even longer. So we could delay it possibly even longer than that.
That's fine. I'm
Yeah.
in favor of it, Bernie.
Yeah.
I'm just asking, and I asked about this before,
Mhm.
of working with Andrea, if there were other parts of the policy that needed to be updated to bring in like, and I would word it over here and put it on this checklist and not just the signature alone,
Mhm.
right? That was my only thing that I was trying to get across.
Okay.
So on the water districts, they're totally separately legal. If we are
Yeah. So-
taking a select board
So we
policy,
can't do anything with that.
I wouldn't recommend it. It's like having
Okay.
a contract and then we're responsible for the contract and we're asking completely different legal separate entities to sign off on what we're responsible for. It doesn't make sense. But
But we're making a decision that may impact them too, so.
right, so that's why I'm saying build it into the other parts to say, have you thought about, especially with a large event, not just the one that we've all been talking about for months on end,
No.
but as, let's say the triathlon gets bigger, or the parade, we don't know what size the parade is going to be, and they're going to be possibly using public bathrooms up and down. So we don't know what the impact is. I just want to make sure we build in other spots in the policy that would encourage the applicant to think about their plans and to present them as early as possible. So if we think there's going to be a water impact, we'll try and reach out to them.
I printed out the
Right?
policy and then I left it on the table. What is the large scale? 500 people? Is that
Yes.
an estimation?
Yeah.
Right, that was my other question too. Are you saying this would be for anyone over 500 or it doesn't matter? Is it just large scale? or
Just
is
a
it-
large scale.
Okay, so over 500.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that was a special event permit.
Okay,
That was, and like I said, I understand where the water district, we don't have contacts. I mean, but, I still think having the sewer commission on there, at least,
I think we're fine with that.
yeah.
What does everybody else think?
Yeah.
And we should, and I wanted to talk to you about it partly because we actually probably have more sewer impact on some of the smaller events.
Well, I
Because
know.
they ask us to open town hall to use the bathrooms. Larger events will often figure out their own bathroom situation.
they're doing the porta
They know
potties.
they're gonna have so much.
Yeah.
But you could have a
Like the
couple hundred
triathlon.
people at the parade or some other event and they say, can you open town hall bathrooms? And when we do that,
Which are ancient.
but when you do that, that probably has more impact, but it's not on the large scale permit. So I'm just trying to be concerned, should we be worried about that impact in a different way?
Should it be with any special event? Even if it's less than 500?
And we're just worried that we don't know the threshold and we could, if
Yeah.
50 people use the bathroom because they're doing an event here, but it's not 500 people.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I don't know the threshold of an impact on the sewer.
Yeah.
Honestly, what would and they have to think about it. What would that mean to them?
Yeah.
And how would we know how many times the bathroom is going to be used?
Yeah.
So
But
what's
you're
our
talking
threshold?
a 1 day or a certain amount of
Yeah,
hour
yeah.
event too.
Yeah.
Like the
Which-
Monster Dash.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're not talking,
Like
that's
Soul
the
Fest.
length of an event
Right.
will make a difference too. with
Sure.
this.
Sure.
Yeah.
Multi-day. But
Yeah.
that would end up usually being a large-scale event, I would assume.
Yeah.
Andrea, when's the last time Northfield had a large event? You know,
Well, I've
not
only been
just
here
like the
4.
monster
I've only been
event.
here 4 years, and 2 of them been COVID. So I'm probably the wrong person
Mary?
to
Hey,
ask.
Alex.
I want to say that when the theater auditorium on the campus was used, I want to say in the early 70s, which holds, I believe,
2,500.
2,500 people, that was filled at one point. So perhaps that could be a measurement of what we've seen for a large-scale event during our time here.
Okay, this is a lot of time.
But we don't permit that. It's
But that's not permanent, yeah.
No, it's not
Yeah.
a permitted event because it's in
No.
the theater. It
It's
would
in
only.
the theater, it's in a building.
We don't-
Okay, so Northfield doesn't have a strong history of large events.
No.
No.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Can we move on? We're putting it in, we're putting it in.
Well, no, well, I just, we have to vote on it and
Okay.
so I'll make a motion to add this, for now, just the sewer commission as on this form onto our special event permit application.
Second.
Yep.
Okay, discussion.
Large-scale or both? You said special event. I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
I guess-
Special event is the large scale, the big application.
Well, we have.
More than 500?
Right?
Well, there's a special event and then it becomes large scale, so it's going on the whole permit, is what you're saying. Okay, I just
Yeah,
want to make sure we
go
put
on
it in the
whole
right
permit
place.
then. Yeah.
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 No discussion.
For, okay, Mary,
Sorry.
just,
Sorry.
guys, so
Yeah.
I used to do process and procedures
Oh.
for many years. So, not trying to be picky, did you say more than 500 or no?
Said both.
Both, so you
Both.
want, if it's less, you want to have the sewer commission sign off too?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a sensitive plant.
Okay, and also, because they need to evaluate, based on what we've learned, they need to evaluate the time of the year and what the flow is.
Yeah.
Like if it's been raining,
Yeah.
speaking
now.
of, like now,
Yeah. Yeah.
cue the sound effects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you having the department head sign it or the sewer commission sign it? That was my other question before we vote.
No, I would rather have the sewer commission because they're gonna work with Isaac to
Department head.
department head.
Okay,
The department head would, I mean, they're in close contact all the time.
okay, that's all I'm
Yeah.
asking.
And they
So,
have special meetings, they schedule
Okay.
meetings at the last second, so if they have
About 48
something-
hours, you mean?
48 hours,
Yep.
yeah, they've
Okay.
been doing that.
okay,
Yay.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay.
Okay.
Can you also just take the action item, though, to work with Andrea on where else in the policy we could encourage
Mm.
people to be aware of sewer and water? You know
Well,
what I mean?
Yeah, even on the first page here, I
Yeah.
wrote down,
Okay,
impact on municipal services, just put it maybe in parentheses. Water, sewer, police, fire, EMS.
so,
Just put it out there,
Can
right
you-
in the first page. even.
so Bernie, can you,
Oh, I'll give, yeah.
this is what I was asking before, so I
Yeah.
just want to make sure it's clear and I'm
Mhm.
not
Yeah.
trying to be a pain in the you-know-what ski, is, even though I probably am, is if there's other parts in the policy, can you go over those with Andrea and then bring in the actual policy with the suggested changes, and then we can vote to change.
Okay.
Right,
To-
because they do have
to
to vote. You
enhance
guys
it.
have to vote to change the actual language in the policy. I
Yeah.
do a draft
Right.
Right,
based on what you see.
yeah.
Would you do, are you
Yeah.
willing to do that, and do you have the
Yeah.
time?
Oh, I do,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
because it's really, there's not too much. It's like I said, it's right
Okay.
on that first page.
I, th-
Yeah.
I think that would be great, and I think it would be super helpful for anybody who has to read
Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
And then that gives more play and more weight to all infrastructure,
Right,
even though the water districts don't sign off on
At
our
this
policy.
point.
Yeah,
at this point.
yeah, so then
Yeah.
bring that language back, and then we'll vote on that too.
Okay.
I'll put that one on, if you want, I'll put it
Okay.
on the next agenda. Okay, Mary, you okay?
Huh? Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, FY '24, thank you, just checking there.
Yes.
Okay,
Look at that binder. Oh
The
my
budget.
goodness.
That's the budget. We're going to go through all of that.
Yeah, page by page. Mary.
Oh, I don't think so.
No, we're not. 8:15. All right. You guys were making progress here. So this week is a really important week in budget. And if you recall last year's discussion with PVRS,
Yeah, I do.
do you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Burning my.
So based on what happened last year, which was late, I think we talked to them in March. I think it was contentious. Based on what we talked about last year, we changed it to this year so that we started talking with them earlier. We met with them in November. We just met with them last week. Bernie Parada and I from the Finance Committee go to their budget subcommittee meetings. So the collaboration and the processes parallel are actually working.
Okay, good.
They're collaborative, they're positive. That said, PVRS is like 2/3 of our budget, somewhere around there.
Somewhere 60 to 65%.
So last year's
60%.
budget number for PVRS was 15.2 million, something like that?
For the full budget?
Yeah, for the full budget.
15.4, DOR put it on there.
The full budget was 15.2 million, and the share, hi Heath, perfect timing. We're talking about budgets. We're just reminiscing about last year.
With the school.
Because it was so much fun.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
So to recap, Bernie Parada and I have been going to the PVRS budget subcommittees in
Okay.
addition to having them come here twice. So this week, Thursday, is their hearing, their first hearing with the school committee. And then the school committee votes on their budget next week.
Wow. Yeah.
So last year, just to give a sense of the size of the numbers we're talking about, last year PVRS's budget was approximately 15.2 million total. Our share of that, Northfield's share of that was 47%. And if you subtract off state aid and some of the other aid that they get, Northfield ended up paying 4.48 million.
Something, yeah.
Something like that. I'll check my notes.
Just shy of that, yeah.
Almost 5 million. Let's just round up for
4.5, yeah.
Okay. So that amount represented approximately 2/3 of the town budget. So if PVRS sneezes on their budget, it affects all the towns. So Leiden, Bernardston, Northfield, and Warwick. Warwick has left the district. They were approved to leave the district. So that means the remaining towns, the 3 remaining towns, their percentages are going up.
Right.
Okay, so I just want to lay that out. We don't need a long budget discussion so much as I want people to be familiar with the numbers and to understand what the impact is, and that now is the time of year to go to the school committee, to go to the finance committee, for example, if you're looking at individual department budgets. Like Karen was mentioning from the sewer commission, she went to the finance committee and the select board this past week and did a presentation on the sewer commission budget, right? Each department has to do it and PVRS has to do it. PVRS though is bigger and is like a sizable chunk. So if Warwick, not if, Warwick is pulling out of the district.
Right.
So that means automatically our dollars go up because Warwick is pulling out. So I have the budget sheets that Bernie and I picked up at last week's meeting. This is not the final one that they're presenting on Thursday, but they do have everything up on the PVRS website. So I'm just going to hand these out just so that you get a sense of like dollar amounts, and if there's concerns, those really need to come up on Thursday night. The school committee votes next Thursday, I believe, on their budget. and then it will continue to proceed along its merry way through the process and eventually land on the town meeting warrant, right? So if this year is really important to Northfield, and we've expressed this, Bernie and I have expressed this, and I've also chatted on a regular basis with the chair of the Bernardston Select Board that we're really concerned about Warwick, the money being withdrawn from Warwick. They're going to pay tuition for their high school students, but they've stepped out of the district agreement. So the district will be comprised of 3 towns, not 4.
And 3
Mary.
towns are, the 3 towns are all responsible for the 15.2, not the whole 15.2 million,
Yeah.
but a big percentage of that, right?
Yeah, if you think of it as a pie chart,
Yeah.
Right.
you
Once-
take out the Warwick slice and the
Right,
rest of
and
us
then
have to
there'll
fill
be
it
the
in.
state revenues that will come off, and then the remainder is the town's share.
Okay.
And that is then divvied per the formula by the state to each town based on 19 criteria.
And
Nobody
it's
quite
the
understands.
town that has to come up with the money to
Yes.
keep the high school running.
Both schools, all the schools.
All the
All the
schools,
schools.
right, all
The
the
budget
schools.
feeds all the schools. Well,
So-
three schools.
Bernardston Elementary, Northfield Elementary, and the high school
Yeah.
Right,
Yes.
are all part of the district.
right, okay.
So,
Whew,
yeah,
wow,
right.
oh my God.
So I want to bring that to your attention, and I want to tell you the high points that Bernie and I have been emphasizing. As I can't speak for Bernardston, but we're basically on the same page, which is we're just really concerned. Oh, microphone? Microphone?
Mary.
No,
Oh,
I'm
Mary.
getting it, thank you, continue, B.
You know, if we're not like tangled up in our cords, then we're dropping it off our. Yeah, put it like that, Mary. Just keep it.
A little white thing.
Hello.
Hang on 1 second.
Testing. One is all the towns are concerned about Warwick leaving. We just don't know what that impact is going to be, right? The other thing that you guys should know is that our bill, so to speak, our assessment with the Franklin County Technical School is going to go up because we had a number of students go to the tech school more so than we normally do.
Oh, I wonder why.
So we would typically send about 27 or 28 students per year to the tech school. In the last year, we sent 40. So the heads up that we received from the superintendent, right, was to
The
say,
business manager called me.
right, to say, heads up, the assessment from the tech school will be going up because the number of students that Northfield is sending has gone up. So,
That's good.
right, so and education is expensive, it's a big budget, it's always been a large part of our budget, but my concern and what I've noticed since being on the select board is people don't really dial into that until they get to town meeting, and then they're confronted with not only this 7-page line item budget, but also all of the budgets that we've now prepared from all of our departments, right? So if you wait until town meeting, that's a lot of information to absorb in a short period of time. So that's why I'm calling attention to this week, because the budgets have started kicking off. The Finance Committee for Northfield reviews budgets every week by department and provides feedback. And PVRS in parallel has been doing their own process, and their major hearing is this Thursday night at 6 in the Kiva at the high school. So if you haven't taken a gander at the numbers, you need to do so this week and next week, because the school committee votes on it next week, right? So that's really what the discussion topic was just to take it up to a high level and go, here are all the numbers that I've been absorbing. Here's the discussions that we've been having. They're all very pleasant and positive and collaborative, but it's still a lot of money. And we don't completely know what the complete impact of Warwick is, because a lot of the state numbers don't come until later in the process. So it's a bit of guesstimating And and we as a select board are bringing the public safety building in front of the public this year too. So I need everybody's attention on it, not just me and Bernie going to the meeting and going, hey, what about this, what about that? Mary?
What committee's job is it to oversee the school's budget, that the money's being allocated correctly and, where our students are being fed a good, solid education, our graduation rates are, we're given all this
School
money.
committee.
Pardon?
School committee.
Yeah. The school committee is the
Yeah.
oversight of the district. They are the oversight of its staff.
And they're the
Yeah.
ones that say, you know what, this money's going to a good place, everything's in place.
That's correct.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But that's
Okay.
also why they have a budget, because they're such a huge committee, they have a budget subcommittee that's been meeting since November.
Excellent.
So that subcommittee is really bringing this forward to the larger committee, and that's what all the individual towns, like Bernardston's Finance and Select Board, Bernie from Finance and me have been going.
Mm-hmm.
But we're providing input. We don't have control of it. We're just providing input about what our concerns are. And that what I've been emphasizing is this is a really important year for Northfield. So I don't want to be sitting there at town meeting with everybody going, well, then we got this bill and that, because these are really what these all are bills, assessments that come to the town, and we present the humongous budget for Northfield at the town meeting. But the time for weighing in on all of these line items is now, between now and,
Thursday.
well, for PVRS, but for the town of Northfield, if you wanted to follow, like last night was the police department.
Right.
So if you wanted to look at the police department budget and what his discussion was with the finance committee, you tune in on Monday nights and go through each of the individual departments. But this, I'm just calling out PVRS because it is the major chunk of our budget, and our percentage of this budget is going up from approximately 47% to almost 52%.
Ugh.
Because Warwick's dropping out. Questions? Just wanted to,
47% to 52%.
and the bottom line that's shown in here doesn't,
Do we all get a copy of that, B?
yes.
Okay, great.
But go online because this is
I'll get to
version
them.
7.0, and I'm pretty sure they have a new version.
Bernie has it.
You
can
have
go
it?
online. They have a place
I
you
have it
can click.
online too, but
Oh,
I have the
okay.
one from the other night. That's
Oh, that's right. Bernie's got it.
The other night was 6, wasn't it? We were looking at them.
Yeah, this is version 7, and I'm pretty sure they have version, I'm guessing 8.0 is on their website. And if you go on their website, you look under departments, you look under finance, and click on FY24 development process.
Like I'm already kind of seeing a couple red flags here.
You've got my highlighted ones. I started highlighting when I was at the
see what
Yeah,
dentist
highlights
where's
today.
my
They
highlighter?
gave me
Oh,
the stuff to key in on. But
That's okay. You
Mine
can-
aren't highlighted.
I was just doing that because I was waiting for the dentist and I
So I
didn't
can
bring my
give you,
knitting.
and I
I
can
had
give
a
you
highlighter. It
just
would just go like this.
a couple of quick updates also on the budget process.
Yes,
while you're
please, go
milling
ahead.
through there.
Yep.
All the department budgets and committee, all the town department and committee budgets are now in. I have a few outside assessments that I'm waiting for because they take a little bit longer to come in. Finance committee's meeting with all the town departments now, as B has said.
Yep.
The next Monday is fire department, highway department, and library. That's Monday's lineup that's coming up. And free cash and our enterprise funds were certified. And what it means by that is when we close the budget on June 30th, that's the end of the fiscal year, it's like balancing your checkbook. They draw a line under June 30th and they say, what did you vote to spend? What did you actually spend?
Yeah.
What didn't you spend, or did you get additional revenue that you didn't predict, because we always guess our revenues, and that is what they call in the end free cash. That money is unobligated until you go to a town meeting and reobligate it. So they hold out of it things that you don't get, money you're waiting for, uncollected taxes to some extent. Certain things get held out of it because they're not free and clear yet. But so the free cash is the town's, and then the enterprise fund also gets their, they draw a line into their budget and they see what they have for them. So we've received all three. It's a big process. It takes us several months to reconcile the books, and then they certify those numbers. DOR does. Yep.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Did they vote on the COLA?
Yes, last night,
Yep.
6%.
6%, okay.
Yep.
I wasn't sure.
Well, normally they
When at the
have,
meeting we were at last
yeah,
Monday.
they were hesitant.
were-
They wanted to look at some other numbers, but
Okay, so they did do 6%.
yeah, typically they've done the Social Security, the standard, but it was like 8.7, and they felt that that was just
Too high.
a bridge too far.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't watch. the
yeah,
Oh,
they
meeting,
did it
thanks.
last night.
I
Last
knew
night.
they had the meeting last night.
Yeah, no, thanks for asking about that.
So
Because that also was a line item in the budgets where they needed to vote on COLA in order to, so that the salary
Well, yeah,
number,
everybody
yeah.
doesn't have their line items
well, and I
all the way
can't
100%.
and I can't finish
so-
the budget till I know what the
Yeah,
salary impact.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yep,
Because then I have to feed it
Yeah.
into
good question.
feed
Okay,
it into a spreadsheet that tells what happens.
so,
So
You
that's
know-
kind of where we are in the process. We're very far in, but at the same time, we're at the beginning, if that makes sense. The numbers are in, but we're still at the beginning of going through everything.
of the discussion and the reviews.
Right.
But the school committee is
They're at
this
the
week
end
and
of
next
their
week
process.
because they need to get it to all of the different towns. So I hope I've gotten, what I said on Nextdoor was tune in and weigh in now is the time. Tune in and weigh in. So if we're all set on this, then we can go on to the stipend discussion. Speaking of
Horrible
spending.
segue.
Well, it's part of the budget, so.
Yeah.
And please let me know or share it with Andrea, whatever your feedback is, if you're not going to be there. And I know Bernie Parada would be interested, and Bernie and I have been doing our homework in between meetings, so that we're synced up. Yeah, and he gave a report last night to the Finance Committee, so we're also trying to keep the Finance Committee and the Select Board in sync.
And so people understand, unlike town budget, which during the meeting, you can actually pull line items out of our omnibus and debate
Right.
them and talk about them and
Yeah.
discuss them and vote on them. The school budget's one number. Like, you cannot, it's up or down. So it's too late in the process if you decide you don't like the number. You can't modify it on town meeting floor. Even when
Right.
towns have tried to
Right.
modify it, that's a no vote. So the town either votes yes or no. Anything other than yes is a no. So you can't change the budget on town meeting floor.
Right. So if
People
you
need to be
have a specific line item or line items
the budget.
or topics that you're concerned about, this week is the time to do it with the school committee, and then next week they vote. So, okay, good. Stipends, you want to talk stipends?
Sure. So I'll pick up this conversation where we left off last year.
Yeah.
This started with the end of my term, with me really not thinking that I was going to be returning for this term, and it was kind of going to be my sort of like parting gift to future
Your
select
swan
board
song?
people. Yeah.
I was gonna say that.
Just because the amount of time prior to me becoming chair was significant, and then the amount of time investment being chair, I'm sure B can attest to this, and so can Alex, but the amount of time that goes into this job in and of itself, never mind being chair, is significant. It really wasn't anything that I had considered coming into this. I sort of knew what I was getting myself into when we were in for select board, but until you're here and you realize actually how much work this takes, this is beyond what I think any town should be asking of their citizens as a purely volunteer effort. And we started this conversation last year, and I decided at the 11th hour to withdraw the discussion, since I was the one who started it, because I wanted the town to focus on the planning board, because they had 0 stipends and they were going to go at it. And I just didn't want us and them both to be asking for money, and then the planning board to get nothing if the townspeople were really uncomfortable about all these, huge percentage wise coming up on the town floor vote. On top of the fact that the school committee last year, the school's budget had several major significant jumps as well. So all those coming together, I was like, you know what? I think I talked with UB about this, and I
Yeah.
think we were like right at the end. It was like, you know what? Forget it for now. I want to focus on this other stuff and move some of the other things forward. But that doesn't mean that this isn't a necessity. What I would like to discuss quickly are the 2 years that I pulled off of the FERCOG survey. Was 2015. It was as far back as it went in sort of just the modern time now, and then 2022. On my sheet here, I did highlight several towns that I felt like were comparable in size and around our dollar amounts. I didn't want to throw in the Deerfields and the Montagues, although those towns are, I think, they're slightly above us, which is kind of shocking because those are bigger towns. But the ones I wanted to point out, if we look back at the 2015 one real quick, starting with Charlemont, they're at 2664. And again, what were ours? Because we don't have our current one that we had. We had just discussed at the last meeting. I had it in my notes, but I didn't come from home to here. I had to
You
come
want to
from
know what
Yeah.
this current year?
what are we currently
23?
right now for chair and members?
Is this select board? The light's so bad I can't even tell.
2358 for chair.
That sounds.
Select board stipends for chair, FY23 was $24.99.93, and each member would get about 22.91.
Okay, yep, there, yep.
Okay. So 24.99 and 22.91.
Yep.
So
So 2,500 basically.
looking at Charlemont in 2015, they were at 2,600. Coleraine 3,200. Gill 2,500. Shelburne 2,600. Shutesbury 2,060, and Wendell 3,200. And this was 8 years ago. Fast forward to last year, Charlemont is at 2,664. Coleraine 3,297. Gill 2,778. Shutesbury 2,631, and Wendell 4,000. So a lot of our nearby colleagues are quite a bit different, higher than
Oh.
us, and they were 8 years ago.
Just one note, because I was asking Andrea about this. Didn't you say one of the towns in here put their amount in for the whole board?
I
not-
thought,
not for-
I'd have to look, I can't, because this is black and white, hang on a second. I have to
One
turn
of
on my
them-
flashlight.
I think Sunderland does theirs. Sunderland's
Yeah, it was
really
Sunderland.
high because they're the Board of Health.
Oh,
Sunderland-
Deerfield's their board of health too.
Are they? Okay.
Yep.
Sunderland's 8,900, so I mean, they don't.
I'm just not sure, is that per person or is that actually, I think that might
might have a
It
actually
says
couple
be,
of-
members.
Right.
but somebody might have totaled it, I don't know. But I would think they would take that into account, I'm not sure.
Yeah. So, either way, I think that the amount of time that gets put into this job, my goal in this, I mean, it's really not going to make or break me personally. This isn't adding hugely to, my final bottom line of my annual salaries and stuff. It's more of what our time is worth, and I think the fact that the planning board now they have their stipends, it's justified. I think the school committee should be in this discussion, but as I've mentioned before, I think that whatever amounts that they feel like they are worth and they would like to bring forward to us, I think it's up to them to do what we're doing for ourselves and what the planning board did for themselves. So I would like to propose that we do bring this up. I think it's long overdue, and if this had been done in, I think, the last 15 to 20 years in some sort of better increments, if it was brought up just a little bit more than it really was, I think just beyond the COLA stuff, we wouldn't need any significant jumps. But I think some sort of like a salary correction is necessary in this process to jump these up a significant amount. That way, they're competitive for what the amount of time is that we're putting in, what our colleagues are getting in nearby towns. And I think beyond that, I think this discussion, or something similar to this, wouldn't be needed for quite some time, because I think we could get this to some rates that are comparable to what's going on elsewhere. But I mean, to be honest, I've had many conversations with other people in other towns, other administrators and select board members and former select board members and stuff, and people see what we're doing. People see the stuff that's going on in Northfield. We made a lot of headlines last year. There's a lot of stuff that goes on, and a lot of people are very much aware of how much time we spend just in these meetings. Never mind committees for public safety, committees for this, committees for that, like all the stuff that we have going on here and the involvement that we have in this town. So needless to say, trying to compare to other towns is great, but Northfield has some sort of unique situations going on, a lot of stuff that we have to deal with on a regular basis. And I've heard some people say as well, and I'll wrap up with this, that oh, your meetings go on and someone flapped their gums about Alex talking too much or whatever. I don't think anybody on this board talks too much. I think people get to the point, they say what they've got to say, and they move on. These meetings aren't long-winded because any of us choose to be here until 9 or 10 o'clock at night. Business has to be done, and things need to be said to get business moving forward. And this takes a significant amount of time. And I commend anybody who's currently on the board, who has been, and who's interested in doing it in the future. And I don't think a lot of people are going to look at the amount of time investment and say, wow, that's all you get for all that time you have to spend on top of the grief that you get on top of it sometimes. So I'll end with that, and I'd like to throw a couple numbers out there.
Yeah, what was your proposal?
I
so
would
we
like to
can
see the chair get 3,500 with the members getting 32. I think that's not so high. I mean, that's still way below what Wendell's getting in a few of these other towns, but I feel like that's an adjustment. It's going to be significant percentage-wise, but I think that gets us in sort of a mid-range of everything that we're seeing with everybody. It still doesn't even get us near what some towns were doing 8 years ago, but neither here nor there. I think that is a fair rate for the amount of time that we spend. Actually, I didn't even start off Irving on here. That Irving was at 3473 in 2015. So, and currently they're at 4150. I mean, they're our next door neighbors, and they have a fair amount of stuff that's going on in their town as well. They're a pretty busy board, but yeah, those are the numbers I'd like to throw out there. Higher, lower, discussion, open up to whomever.
What are we doing? What are we making right now?
Sorry. That's just what I'm proposing that we throw out there. It's not throwing to a vote or anything right now. It's just
In 23, what was
The chair is 7 cents less than 2,500, so essentially it's 2,500.
Okay.
And each member, I computed it and then I didn't
Just
write
under
it down.
23.
It was actually
I think you said
9.4, it's actually
2391
a
or
little
something.
older.
Well, Madam Chair, may I address the board?
Yes, you may.
Well, frankly, I want to thank you very, very much, Heath, for taking on the math and the passion of it and bringing it to our attention and caring so much about our position on the board. I just really wanted to thank Heath very, very much for spearheading this very important topic.
I have some things to say.
Okay, Alex, go ahead.
Yeah.
You haven't said much all evening.
No,
so.
I don't.
Talk
there's
so
no timer
much.
running either. So
You don't have to have a stopwatch for me. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so here's the thing. I've been on this board coming up on 5 years in May. I never consider select boarding to be, when we talk about time, the amount of time we put into something, I never considered time to be a necessary or computable variable for this position, and I'll tell you why. You put in, as an elected official to this position, what you want to put in. You can just show up to the meetings, you can be on 100 committees, you could not even show up to the meetings at all and you still get that money. So I don't consider time a variable. We always put the time we want into this position. My argument for raising the stipends is not related to time, it's related to what we are exposed to as a board. Now before I get into that, I want to say something else, which is a comment that B had said in the last meeting, that we can't talk about how hard we work, and that it's not about how much time we put in. You said something, it's not the exact words, but you said something very similar to that.
Yeah.
And so your whole perspective of what it means to be on a select board changes when somebody from civil process, from the sheriff's office, serves you papers because you're going to be entering litigation. And at the time when that happens, you have no idea what is going to be happening at that point. It is a panic, and it is quite embarrassing. And anybody who is on a select board at any point in time can be served papers for some legal issue or through some complaint or litigation or something like that. So let's talk about exposure. That's one thing that you're exposed to, and it sucks when it happens.
Did that happen to you, Alex?
It did. It did at one point. You remember that?
At work.
Happened to me too.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's how it works. Okay.
First
So-
stuff that happened before we were even on the board.
We hire individuals. We are potentially under scrutiny at times from local media outlets. We are involved with executive sessions on a variety of topics that make or break not only the town's future, but the individual's future of who we may be discussing. And like I said, time is not a variable that you can put into that, because there could be a member who does not want to be involved in any of that and refuses to show up, refuses to sign the documents, refuses to be part of Northfield's history, and they can still collect the stipend. So we're not talking about time here. This is about exposure. And Andrea once told me that you don't reinvent the wheel in town government, and you don't. You rely on others, you rely on a network of individuals to all work together and get a job done. And I think that's all part of the teamwork aspect. And that's something that I have definitely discovered and learned on during my time as a select board member, is that teamwork aspect, which I did not have when I started for a variety of reasons, so which I will not get into. So we're not even, there has been no and the intricacies of government have gotten so immense in the past 10 years. Beyond that, look at how town government operated in the 50s. Oh, get in the pickup truck and let's go get them. Let's go solve the issue, boys. Yeah, Saturday Night Live skit. Okay, but look, my point is there was a simplicity of life, there was a simplicity in policy, and there was a backdoor method, a behind-the-scenes fortress method of government that existed. I do believe that. You can't operate government like that anymore because you'll end up in court. So as a member, you have that burden, that responsibility on your shoulders of what you are dealing with. And it is heavy at times. It is absolutely heavy, to the point where, as comfortable as I am with public speaking in front of from one person to thousands of people, you have to understand that what you say can and will be used against you at any time, whatever the topic is, however long in longitudinal distance. And those are the responsibilities that you have to carry with you when you serve on any elected board in Northfield or in town government in general. So these are all things that you have to think about when you're determining what is a person worth. We're talking about this with the school system. We're talking about this with any position. How do we determine the worth of a human being in regards to their position? And a lot of times in public policy, you attract candidates with an attractive monetary figure. That's generally how it works. Is $1,000 going to make or break whether I stay on this board for the next year? Absolutely not. I have a great job. So does my wife. This doesn't make or break the situation. But you just have to put it into a different perspective than time. And that's all I'm just trying to say here.
Yep.
And
I think we're getting that, and I think
Yeah.
also what I'm getting from you, Alex, is I think what I was trying to say was that we all work hard,
oh yeah.
but what you're raising is the type of work, and I know I've been kind of blown away by the type of work and the type of topics
Yeah.
that we end up dealing with that are significant. I mean, I've been on the First Light FERC negotiations now for 2 years. And it's a 50-year license that they're going for, so I definitely feel the weight of that one activity, never mind the other
It's probably
activities.
one of
But
the most time-consuming ones I think any of us has been involved in.
Yes.
I honestly
I'm
don't,
like-
I can't think of one that's more time involved.
not unless you have meetings
4
that
years
go
of
all
my
day.
life with Comcast, I'll never get back.
Yeah, that too.
Okay, that
Just
one,
gotta
yeah.
say
They're fun, thick
Those two.
dictionary.
Yeah,
videos.
those two. Okay, any other, Bernie, did you want to speak on this? Or
Yeah,
Alex, are
well,
you done? I
you know,
wanted
just,
to make sure, because I know you're,
Just one point,
yeah,
I added up the totals of each board. Remember, we're a 5-member board.
yeah,
So, I mean, I'm using fiscal year 2022 because that's the only thing FERCog doesn't, they didn't have everything up yet. They don't have the 2023 stipends up,
Yep.
which they will.
yep,
But we, as a board, in fiscal year 2022, made $11,234. Wendell made $12,000. Shutesbury, almost $7,900. Shelburne, about $8,800. Montague made $6,600. You know, so you add up all these numbers. Some of them are making more than us, but they're only 3-member boards.
oh, you mean the total expenditure
Total
is what you're
expenditures.
looking
I
at?
just-
Okay, gotcha.
You know,
Yep.
I'm not against letting the people decide if we should
Yeah.
get a stipend. You know, their voice is the most important to me.
Yeah,
And, you know, it's up to them. But I think we should acknowledge the total figures
Are different,
are different.
yeah.
You know, I mean, it's, you know, Coleraine, they make more than us. They make $32.97 a board member, but their total is just under $10,000, and we're using these figures are $11,234. So we're, you know, because we're a 5-member board, there's nothing to compare us to.
For the
um,
total
For
expenditure.
the total
yeah.
expenditures, you know, the only one that has 5 members is Orange, and
I get nothing.
they get nothing. So,
Yeah, that's a good point.
so I just, you
yeah.
know, if we present this, you know, I think in, you know, being honest and upfront, make sure we let them know the total figures too, so they know what they're voting on.
Well, that has to show up on
It's a
each,
total
it has
on
to
the
show up
warrant.
on the budget line.
Right,
It will show
Yeah.
a total.
yeah, show a
Yeah.
total, yeah.
It does.
I mean, just so that they, you know, and if people are watching and, you know, they're interested in this, you know, the numbers are on FERCog's site, and people can look at these and they
Yep.
can see these numbers. And I
FERCog does a lot of.
just want them to be
yeah.
aware what they're voting for, you know.
Yep,
You know, I don't care if I get any stipend at all, so, but, you know, but it's not, my voice doesn't speak for the whole board, doesn't speak for the town, but the town gets to vote on it, and that's,
yep.
and, you know, whatever the town votes on, I'm fine with that. It's, you know, it's their voice, their voices count.
It's stipend.
It's like, yeah. Okay? That's it.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Bernie.
Okay, I'm looking at the time. So what is the pleasure of the board? Do you want to vote? And or you want to prepare this as a warrant article and then recommend it for the town meeting for folks to vote on? What's your preference?
I think probably the best route to take would be to have a very brief discussion of the dollar amounts that I discussed. If people want to knock them down a little,
Do you want to do that tonight, or do you want me to continue the discussion and let
I really
people?
can kind of just put this to bed and then lay it out there for an
Voters?
for the voters on its own warrant article, because that way it's not buried in
Line item.
it's buried in a line item. It's not like we're trying to slide it by anybody. It's out there. It's a thing that will bring up its own discussion. People can talk about it, vote on it, see it. It's about as
Okay.
front and center as it could
own
possibly
article.
be, and leave it there for discussion for people
Okay.
within the town. to
So do you
discuss.
want to vote on it tonight, or we have time before we do the warrant articles, so we can let it
What
gel?
would we be voting on tonight? If we were,
Putting it onto as a warrant article, so
That's
that
what
the
we wanna do,
voters would
right?
vote on it at the town meeting.
I don't think that if we have more time, then I don't see any harm in waiting. And if people want to digest the dollar amounts, and now that I've discussed it too, I can discuss them as well, or digest them a little bit more as well. That we've had.
Well,
the
I'm just
discussion.
thinking as people, I'm sure this will be, now, you know, I'm trying to get people to look at budgets in general, so it'd be nice to have people just tune in and, like I said, weigh in, and then let us know, and then we can take that. When do we need to have the warrant articles done by? Is it March?
Well, I mean,
I
the
don't
warrant
have the count.
closes, but I wouldn't wait that long.
Right.
I'm gonna start the warrant next week, but it's not done.
It'll be the draft.
Oh, yeah, it'll
Yeah.
take me a couple
And we
weeks to
go
put
through the
warrant
draft
together.
and then we go through the final.
Technically, the warrant closes, posted here, so the warrant closes on March 20th.
Oh, okay. So we can put it on,
So that allows me then the time to finalize the warrant if anybody puts anything on it
so
by
if we
March
put it
20th.
on like early March, come back to it on early March, does that give you enough time?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And then that will give us a couple of weeks, because the 21st is already shaping up to, we already have a few topics for the 21st that
Imagine
I'll,
that.
yeah. So, all right, I'll put it on the agenda for like March, what is it, March?
I'm gonna look at the calendar now. You have March, it'll be the same dates. It's March 7th and March 21st.
Okay, good. Oh, that'll be easy to remember. Okay, so we can put it on March 7th.
Okay.
All right,
Very good.
good, thank you. Thanks, Heath.
Thanks.
thank you.
Thanks, guys. Okay, topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair 48 hours in advance of the meeting. There are none. We did do an announcement under the town administrator update. Citizens' concerns. Sarah?
Hey guys, Sarah Kearns, 39 Highland. I have 3 questions. So, I have heard from several other citizens, and I myself also believe that we need a you break it, you bought it deposit of the actual replacement value of things that we are concerned about for special events, such as sewer problems and stuff like that. In order to do that, Andrea pointed out today, I think Andrea, maybe B, that we need a sewer threshold impact report. So we would need flow meters and all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to put that out there. I know that this is an active discussion. And so that's something that's been really, with the water main break today, I know that infrastructure has really been on people's minds.
Yep.
And the idea of the hundreds of thousands of dollars if one little thing goes wrong is really daunting, right? For families, it's daunting. Because the overflow of those costs, if it's not covered by the people who did the damage, will invariably come back on the citizens. So I just wanted to bring that up as something important. That's number...
On the sewer and I'm just clarifying
you've
voicing your concern about the sewer and water portion infrastructure in the special event policy.
I'm saying that I think, and I've said it before, we've said it all together, we need a deposit or a bond, but I think the bond is a specific word that is not applicable. There needs to be a pile of money that somebody who comes here, if they mess up something big, they pay the damage rather than the town. And that needs to be put down beforehand because business will sometimes, because it might not get paid if it's not put down beforehand. So that would include extra police forcing, extra, extra expenses are, there needs to be a pile of money for that. So that's just my concern.
Okay, we will take that. So thank you for your concern and your continued attention to special events. We will take that under advisement. We'll bring the policy periodically for review. Just from a scheduling standpoint, when we talk about proposed agenda topics, I have to balance that with all the other, so that's why we're doing it in manageable chunks, so to speak.
I also wanted to voice my support of having the some sort of sign off for the essential services that we have control over, which obviously water is not one of, on the select board, on the special event application. And then my other question was just, Solfest said that they're not coming this year, or Moody said that they're not coming this year. Did they give any indication? They are still listed that this is their future home. Did they give any indication that it is just this year, or was it a full cancellation of that? Was there any indication of that?
I don't think they're ever coming here.
They're not coming.
I can't say that they told me that outright, but
Okay.
my impression.
They're not coming.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you,
you.
Sarah. As well, and thanks for your attendance. You're gonna get.
Gold star.
You're gonna get a gold. We're gonna come up with stickers or something.
Before
Okay.
you go any further, you need to circle back to the agenda item for
Oh, the big qualification. Did you hear that?
Emergency
by any chance?
Services Facility bid
Tail
committee.
end.
Skip said, if that is the pre-qualifying for contractors, Heath or I have no problem either way.
This is the 5th member of the
He's-
committee.
I sent you a
He's
text.
got so much involvement on it. I don't want to duck out of it, but if he's willing and able, then great.
He said either way, he
Okay.
leaves it to you. It's
I'll default to him. He's got so much experience on this thing, and he's kind of the
vested.
head of the whole thing, absolutely. And if he wasn't available or if something happens, I'll be willing to.
You're gonna wait, and I think what Alex and I were talking about
He
is
said
just
it
your
was no problem.
experience with bids and
Yeah.
that kind of work.
Have you ever done a bid before?
Got a couple of them in the fire right now. This is a big year for you. But no, yeah, it's the thing is this going to involve FERCog? Or like, are they going to be in the?
FERCog's not doing the bidding.
They won't do the bid.
It's not, this is not, they're just not doing it. We have an OPM doing it, and it's actually gonna be all electronically submitted. There's a whole system they're using.
So that if they
But
got
they'll
a
do it.
system and we're not having to manage it, then it's pretty easy.
But then we're gonna be reviewing the criteria to make sure they meet that. That's what
They're
the
going to be
pre-qualification-
advertising. They're going to be announcing dates.
It's
they're
already
gonna be- Yeah,
advertised.
so
It's already on.
They're gonna be
Com-
doing the work, so are you sure you don't?
It's already in the
wanna-
paper,
Yeah.
it's already on Combis, and it's already on the Central Register. That happened February 1st.
yeah, if he can do it, then great. Because I have so much with bids going right now that. Yeah.
Okay.
If he's willing and available to do it, then great.
Do
and
we
if
need
something
to
happens,
update the vote then?
Yeah,
I think you should make sure that that's the committee.
Okay,
Let's
can we
make a full-
revisit the motion or redo the should we withdraw the? Yes, thank you.
Accept the recommendation from the Emergency Services Facility Committee on the composition of the bid qualifying committee.
So,
To be designer, the project manager, town administrator as the CPO, Bernie Parada from Finance Committee, and Skip.
so moved.
second.
Second,
Okay.
I think one of us needs to, okay, you so moved it. Okay,
He so moved it.
oh, he did indeed.
Who seconded? He.
Keith did.
Yeah.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, good.
I didn't want to lose that because they're waiting for it.
No. That, and we have to go to that meeting tomorrow night and they're gonna be looking at us, did you get it done?
Yeah.
We got it done.
All right, so we're
Okay.
we're gonna say thank you very much to Skip, and also Heath, you're still involved anyway because you're on the committee. Okay, good. Just noting that we had correspondence, we're continued to add to the special event policy feedback file.
Skip says K.
Okay,
Tell him we love him.
yeah.
Send him a little heart
So here's
emoji.
something can I tell you something about correspondence? I'd
Yes.
like to feed more of the board's correspondence into that file without having to put everything on the agenda that comes. We could still highlight important stuff. If and when you come in and review the agenda, the correspondence, you can't discuss it because it's not on your agenda. If you really want it on the agenda, you could just put an A on it and we could put it on the next agenda. You might just, I just want to put more informational stuff in there, but I don't want you to get, I don't want to have to put 10 things on
Right.
the agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can highlight high ones, or we can just put correspondence. But if you want something that hits the mail folder on the agenda for the next meeting,
Yeah.
just mark it, and we'll put it on the next
Okay.
agenda. That way
So
I
when
can
people-
put more things in there.
Okay, so when people review the folder, and then we can also talk about it under proposed agenda topics too. We
If
can
you
add it.
want. But that way we'll
To
put
the
mail
list.
in there, you review it like you review the warrants when you come in.
Okay.
Look through the folder, if you want something on there, just mark it. 'cause you
That
might forget.
sounds good. I
Might
just
forget by
wanted
the end of the
to
meeting.
make sure that folks, I know folks were really concerned about making sure their Soulfest feedback was heard. So I was highlighting that for the most part. Okay,
I know, that's
So
so.
please feel free to mark the correspondence folder with an agenda if you want.
okay. If you want more topics, please mark them
That's
and
right.
raise your hand and tell the town administrator or myself.
Please add more to the agenda.
Yeah.
Annoying.
Okay, reappointments. Alex, you want to run through these?
Yeah. Okay, at this time, for the fire department, I will make a motion to reappoint the following officers of the Northfield Fire Department as chief. Forest Fire Warden Floyd Skip DeMel, Assistant Chief / Assistant Forest Fire Warden / Auxiliary David Quinn Jr., Captain / Assistant Forest Fire Warden Michael Quinn, First Lieutenant Rob Hunter, Second Lieutenant Jeff Grover, Third Lieutenant Scott Milton, Secretary / Treasurer Amanda Donnell.
Are we doing it?
I'm gonna-
Okay,
We need a second.
I need a second.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion to appoint firefighters Mariah Anthony, Patrick Brunette, Dan Chabot, Jacob Fess, Andrew Goodwin, Tyler Hunter, Tom Jackson, Chris Kalinowski, Mike Magnuson, Steve Malsh, Caleb Milton, Dan Mamani, Tim Mamani, Jay Nelson, Eric Oates, Keith Stark, Derek Warden.
Second.
Excellent. All those in favor?
Aye. Motion to appoint auxiliary fire department members Kevin Connolly, Fred Fuller, and Jim Wright with terms expiring January 31st, 2024.
Motion and a second. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to appoint Emergency Manager Director Floyd Skip Donnell and EMD Assistant Amanda Donnell. Terms expiring 1/30/2024.
Motion and second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And to the EMS, motion to appoint to Northfield EMS Mike Shed, term expiring 12/31/2023, and this is omitted from the 12/20/2022 minutes.
Ooh.
Motion and second.
Yes. You're seconding, Mary?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank
Okay.
you. All right. Proposed agenda topics.
No, I don't think of anything right now.
Okay, we'll take a look at the list. Sandra put one in the homework. So for February 21st,
Did you
Yep.
have a question? Sorry,
okay, we're almost done, guys.
my desk buddy.
Yeah, thanks for checking on each other,
Yeah.
the buddy system. February 21st, so far we have a FERCog presentation on the preliminary work that we need to do for fire station reuse. So we actually already have an appointment and they'll be doing a presentation. Right, they're gonna start right at 6, right?
They're at 6:30.
6:30 because we have Dan.
Yeah, we have an appointment also for wastewater. So we're gonna try
Oh, you're gonna try and do it at 6?
and get those in.
Oh, okay, good.
So the town clerk is coming with the assistant town clerk for you guys to meet.
Yep.
And if we have time, we'll try to slide that appointment in so they don't have to wait till after
Yeah,
the whole presentation.
yeah,
So
okay.
that might be just a quick one.
All right, so on the 21st, we're fitting in a new hire for the sewer department/commission. We also have an executive session with the assessors regarding an appellate tax board, to your point about types of topics, an ATB case. And then I also have to give my typical warning because the stakeholder discussions have restarted, speaking of long meetings. So FERC and First Light stakeholder settlement agreements will probably be an executive session at soon to be select board meeting.
And I will be bringing you a couple things, including review of the assistant treasurer collector job description, because we need to
job
classify
descriptions.
that if we're going to discuss it as a potential
Okay,
job. It still needs to get classified so we can figure out what it costs.
Okay.
In order to classify it, you have to approve the job description.
correct.
So
Okay,
that'll come to you. And I received a request for a warrant article for extension for a home rule petition for the fire chief.
oh,
So
you
that-
did?
That will come to
Oh.
you.
Okay,
So
that's
that will come to you
important.
at that meeting because you, as determiners of what goes on the warrant, have
Right.
to review that.
Okay. And then I put a new, just a category here, regular and frequent updates. So we're in the middle of FY24 budget. So Andrea will be providing regular updates. And then also we'll continue, because of the tight time frame, to continue bringing up anything regarding the emergency services facility and invite the committee in as needed. But I think you guys are meeting so often that we're really trying to push people to go to those meetings. Like we already announced tomorrow night's
I think
meeting.
after this one, there'll be a bit of a lull because there's going to be a whole big bid thing going on
Okay,
until
so people have to go to the one tomorrow
if they
night
want to weigh
Yeah.
in on the
Yeah.
on
the look
piece
and
that
feel,
we're doing. Yes,
on the stuff that makes everybody's boat float or not.
because we need that for the bid.
Okay, and then I have the running list of different topics, but that's how February 21st is already shaping up. Do you guys have, is there anything else that I'm missing or that you want to, oh, you're going to bring back we're going to do more
I'll talk
on
to
the,
Andrea, and there's just a couple things.
Yep.
And we'll just make that quick change and,
put it in the homework and then,
yeah.
okay. Sewer, okay, special event. Okay, anything else?
Yeah.
Announcements. And again, if I do this when we're doing the agenda, so it changes as soon as I do it. But if you have anything that you want, send it to Andrea prior to Wednesday. because Wednesday afternoon I meet with Sandra and Andrea. Okay, announcements. Just to harp on it again. Emergency Services Facility meeting on Wednesday, February 8th. That's tomorrow night at 6 p.m. here. PVRS, the district budget subcommittee hearing is Thursday, February 9th at 6 p.m. in the Kiva at the high school. And we talked about that at length. Recognition for service. Anybody have any shout outs?
I'd like to give a shout out once again to our first responders in their communication techniques, as well as our highway department who was out all night, all day,
Every night.
putting in 80 to 100 hours of work in overtime to ensure the safety of our residents and the safety of our roads and commuters, and taking a stronger stakeholding in our town's infrastructure during these difficult times with weather.
I second that one.
And the nice thing was we got to say it to Tom's face at the beginning of the
Yeah.
meeting too. So
Yeah.
thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Everybody.
Yeah. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Bea.
Thank you guys.